But people are desperate to take me down by any means necessary. I mean, this dead domain video could be the spiciest that people have seen in a long time. Most people are not autistic enough to go through my live streams to find out that I'm actually like an edgelord alt-right type of person. Please, dead domain, take the stage. The last thing I want to do is waste my time watching your content. You can waste dozens of your hours making a giant hit piece. I stand behind everything I've ever said.
I stand behind everything I've ever said.
Pyro, Funko Pop, right? I have a few amiibos too. It's like whatever, Synthetic Man's a soy boy.
My mom just got here, so I might see if dinner is an option, or if I'll have to make my own tendies. Want me to do like a... Oh.
There's not nearly as many of black male, white female as you would think, by the way. The toucan propaganda. Some of these cuckold subhumans need to stop watching their gay porn.
I'll drink a little bit more. I think that's what you guys want to see. It weirdly also combines with my strange fascination with eugenics, because the idea of Fuda is some kind of like alternative Ubermensch. It's a butt plug for new Abby to shove her giant Fuda cock in my ass. You have to do things worse than Hitler to fix what's happening right now. Considerably worse than Hitler. An affirmative action hire, blah, 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 blah. You know, f you, kill, kill. It's time to make it stop. Nobody says bigotry except subhumans. Literally, people who should be executed. Every single one of them, without exception. They need to face the wall. The pendulum will swing back when Larry Fink is decapitated on live television. Birth control with your hormones, and it's made women attracted to twinks. Maybe this next hit piece will be the one that finally gets YouTube to do something about me.
The internet can be a pretty negative place, which might seem like an understatement. The internet is a place where people are frequently targeted for harassment, death threats, doxing, swatting, and more simply for existing. In the darkest corners of the internet, on places like 4chan, Kiwi Farms, and other places with lax content moderation, communities have developed dedicated to misery of all kinds. Hang around the internet long enough, and you'll hear words like incel and blackpilled and even doomer thrown around. All various ways to describe people who seem to wallow in various states of misanthropy. There are entire communities built around people who just spend their entire lives being mad at other people, using slurs with reckless abandon in their little safe spaces. Now, it shouldn't be too surprising that these websites are replete with racism, conspiracy theory, violent rhetoric, and various bigotries to aperitif the slurs. And if you're a slightly more well-adjusted person, you might ask, how does someone become like this? How does someone choose to spend their limited time on Earth not chasing a creative pursuit, finding love, investing themselves in a professional field, or any other of the myriad things you could do? How does someone become so miserable that their only recourse is to try and spread that misery to others and form communities around wallowing, self-pity, and hating outgroups? That brings me to the YouTuber Synthetic Man. While he's only been active for a few years, Synthetic Man has managed to amass a fairly sizable audience of over 120,000 subscribers through a combination of videos and regular streams where he mostly just goes on unhinged rants about wokeness and why he doesn't like things. He gets a spotlight every so often when he makes a video relevant to a popular property, yet infuses his ranting with open racism, sexism, or homophobia that makes him an easy target for reaction content from other creators.
Either that or it's some kind of multi-vault experiment, as they fail to adequately explain in the show. Vault 31, 32, and 33 are all directly connected to each other.
What do you mean fail to adequately explain, dumbass? You watched only one episode, dumbass. Perhaps maybe watch the whole first season where they do actually explain in detail. It's just called a slow reveal, dumbass. Bro just watched one episode and started chirping at the first sight of a black person. How are these people real? I feel like this is just like a meme personified. You know what I mean? This is the meme about like the genuine racist neckbeard.
He's had public spats with other anti-woke content creators and even considers himself too extreme to collaborate with people like Mahler, The Quartering, Nerdrotic, and others. But he didn't start off that way. Synthetic Man, as he is on YouTube today, is basically an outright Nazi incel. And I'm not just the kind of left cuck soy boy who just calls everybody a Nazi. No, I'm going to back up pretty much everything I say. And believe me when I say Synthetic Man at least from what he says, fully has Nazi beliefs.
Basically everything after World War II. You could say World War II and its consequences were a disaster for the human race. I can't remember which general it was that basically said we defeated the wrong enemy. I can think of one Austrian who tried to save the world in all of history. Never mind. Anyway.
The YouTube terms of service violations he stacks up in an average stream are plentiful and constant. He laughs at explicit 4chan tier Nazi memes his viewers will send in his chat. He pushes conspiracies about global Jewish cabals controlling the world. He gets mad at any woman or person of color expressing competence or intelligence and will spin that into subliminal messaging. These aren't just me speculating, by the way, as I will back up everything I'm saying in his own words, and these are just the tip of the iceberg. Now, over the last 3 months, I've watched more than 200 hours of Synthetic Man's content, and you might think that would leave me bitter and angry towards this person who often talks in thinly veiled slurs and goes on tirades about wokeness and SJWs and BlackRock, ruining everything white people hold dear. But instead, I actually feel genuinely bad for Synthetic Man, because as I'll show, while he is a miserable person, a genuinely miserable person, he is the one responsible for his misery. What started for Synthetic Man as a desire to have a gaming channel has become a cesspool of openly violent conspiracy, racism, and general misanthropy. Because of how Synthetic Man chased an audience that encouraged his worst tendencies, in turn leaving him burnt out, passionless, and more bitter and angry than ever before. So up front, I want to preface this by saying this isn't a takedown of Synthetic Man. This is a cautionary tale. Now, if you're a fan of Synthetic Man or even just the right-wing Gamergate crowd, or even just hate lefty SJW snowflakes like me, you're probably thinking this is a hit piece. But I promise you, it won't be. I will simply be examining the things Synth has said in his own words, using his positions and statements to show how much of a miserable, self-loathing hypocrite he actually is. See, if it were a hit piece, I'd be calling him names without backing it up, making assertions without any evidence, or insulting him for his habits or appearances. But I have plenty of evidence to justify anything I will call him, and frankly, I don't need to make Synth look bad. He does that all on his own just fine, willingly and constantly. And I would encourage anyone who subscribed to him or considers yourself a fan of his content to watch this entire video and really actually consider the things I say. And if you still support him at the end, you have my sympathy too. And you can call me a f***ing and we'll go our separate internet ways. I'm also not too worried about Synth himself responding. While he talks a big game about masculinity and the eroding standards of being a man in society, he's not really the confrontational type. Like most internet tough guys, I'm willing to bet he just doesn't have that dog in him to actually handle criticism head on and develop a cogent response. I'd love to be proven wrong, but if he does respond, I doubt it will consist of anything more intelligent than elementary school insults and some ad hominem and strawman attacks. And for new viewers to the channel, I hear you ask, why? Why, Jordan, would you subject yourself to this slow-talking incel stereotype for over 200 hours? And it's not just because my kind of channel and brand has become all about doing things nobody else will really take the time or effort to do. It's because Synth and how he's become more radical and hateful are representative of a growing amount of predominantly young men in online spaces. Like, Synthetic Man here is more of an experimental subject. Like my deep dive into Matt Walsh, I needed a subject that had broad application, in the sense that in Synthetic Man's story, you can see a lot of commonalities with other more regular people. As I'll show, Synth's story has a lot in common with other young, disillusioned, primarily white men, and those commonalities are important to understanding how to try and help people going down a similar path, to prevent them from becoming as cynical and hateful as him altogether. Also, like Matt Walsh, I needed a subject who had large swaths of content where he spoke off the cuff, giving an uninhibited look into his actual thought processes. As with any good observational study, I needed a large data set to work on, and Synthetic Man's variety of late-night drunken streams where he's goaded into racist, unhinged, and occasionally violent rants from his audience made for a perfect data set. Synthetic Man very rarely has a filter, and that makes him, at the very least, a degree more honest about his racism, sexism, and various bigotries than some of his contemporaries. There are plenty of other rambly, ranty, anti-woke dweebs in this pop culture and video game focused side of YouTube, but dorks like The Quartering are too invested in their grifts to really be honest. They're focused on building a platform, expanding into a business, a podcast, selling shitty coffee and mugs, to the point that they basically only have the grift to hang on to. They pump out dozens of videos weekly to get the maximum amount of views on hot button issues with next to no effort put into any of their content. And then there are the wannabes following the formulas of the quartering, Mahler, Nerdrotic, Heel vs. Babyface, Melanie Mac, and dozens of others, posting ranting outrage bait that occasionally gets them noticed but mostly falls into the background. These C-listers like Rev Says Desu or Endymion or Fritanga aren't notable because, like the upper tier of grifters, they kind of just follow the line. They want to get those sponsorships, they want that paper, so they will be anti-woke, but won't say anything too terribly upsetting. Which brings me back to the reason for picking Synthetic Man specifically. He doesn't have that same filter. While he'll still shill for useless products for sponsorships, at least while companies still wanted to work with him before he became too toxic of a name, he long ago stopped trying to censor his views for reasons we will see soon. Where some channels might just dance around blaming Juice for society's issues, Synth will just go on unhinged tirades about it.
Devontae, thanks for $5. Will the rainbow representation ever go away or die down? Is it possible to go back to the 2000s level of games? You'd have to fire every leftist working for the game industry right now, and of course, somehow we have to beat the influence of a certain toucans from space. We have to somehow, they have to pull out their funding, and you fire every leftist. That's just not gonna happen. Both those things are not happening. Omega Supreme W Cheese, like, America's the center of the world, and we're against our will, because I don't think any Americans actually want this, but our government is imposing themselves on the globe, right? And it's not, again, it's not even our government, it's the people puppeteering our government who are not Americans. I mean, they are maybe born here, but you get the point. Israel is doing it. It's not America's fault directly. So Israel puppeteering America is enforcing American culture on the globe.
And in case you ever thought he was subtle, here's the thumbnail he made for his now delisted Last of Us 2 video that you can only find on Rumble. Where some channels might debate the merits of black or strong female characters and hint at ideas adjacent to white replacement or social engineering, Synthetic Man will concoct elaborate narratives around these conspiracies.
Creating a slave race that will never stand up to their masters. That's why the golem, if you've ever heard the golem, like, analog, allegory, whatever you want to call it, again, you got to be careful about my words here, but they want to create a golem race, essentially, a slave race of people who will make society function, and it's a sustainable population, low IQ, right? They just, you know, I don't know what they've figured is a good number. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, like 3 billion people. If they reduce the global population to 3 billion dumb people who will just, you know, and it's not just about fucking equity, okay? Let's say, hypothetically, you were trying to create a race of mongrel slave people with double-digit IQs. While you believe you're the best ever, you're God's chosen people, right? You need to encourage the creation of the mongrel slave race. So what do? Okay, well, one, you show as many interracial couples as possible in media. Every single commercial, every single TV show, that's one thing. Another thing, these people who, you know, for whatever reason are considered, at least on average, to be the most attractive people, well, they also coincidentally are too intelligent and too, they have too much ingenuity, creativity, all of those things that could be a threat to you. Well, if we simply stop giving them jobs, they can't feed themselves. They're poor. Women, unless they're extremely high above average in terms of looks, women are not going to date the poor white guy over the diversity hire dude who's making more money, right? Unless he's hideously ugly. The point is to bring things to a balance.
It's false. It never happened. It's a fake. It's fiction. It's an urban legend that never happened.
Combined with a channel well over 100,000 subscribers that has some videos reaching well past 500,000, and this makes Synthetic an ideal channel to deconstruct because when you actually look at his uncensored opinions, he basically has been allowed to spread 4chan style hate unchecked on YouTube's platform. The reason I've picked him isn't because I dislike him in particular over other people, it's because he's uniquely masked off in ways very few of his particular niche of content creators are. That's not to say I think every anti-woke channel is harboring genuine Nazi beliefs. Synthetic certainly is, as I have shown and will continue to prove. But for their part, I think people like The Quartering are your standard mainstream conservatives, probably, possibly alt-right ding-dongs. They know to toe the line to maximize ad revenue, yet still draw in a political audience. They also still play a role in the ecosystem for people like Synthetic Man, helping to radicalize impressionable and occasionally emotionally detached young men, a story we've heard time and time again. For example, if you aren't super well versed in the internet, but you're thinking, hey, I've heard of 4chan and Kiwi Farms before, it's probably because both have been linked to multiple mass shootings, where the shooters were avid posters and browsers on the boards. Needless to say, they aren't healthy or mentally stimulating places to spend your time, and they truly only foster hate and negativity. Now, with the rise of the new half-assed Gamergate 2 movement, we've seen a new legion of people willing to harass and send death threats over very important issues like how big a video game character's tits are. And with the growing footholds of movements like Groypers and the alt-right on places like Twitter, gaming has once again become an unsuspected ideological battleground where everyday teens and young adults are being inundated with hateful ideology, like the literal Nazi talking points Synthetic Man all but encourages from his audience. If you think I'm joking, by the way, Nazi jokes and explicit anti-Semitism and hate speech are regular occurrences in his super chats. People pay to have him read them out. Like a super chat advocating shooting all black people, Jews, and gay people, exemplified by emojis, to which Synth simply laughs.
That's a random name, thanks $5. I usually enjoy your content, but giving platforms to meanies where I draw the line. Also, squirt, probably shoot. Shoot all... I don't even know if I want to read what those emojis are. Whatever. It's a monkey emoji, a gay flag emoji, and then radioactive, and then Star of David from Orbit Chud Face. There you go. Okay.
Followed on the same stream, by the way, by a super chat that donates $14.88 while blaming Jews for all their ills.
OFN, thanks to the 14 Canadian 88 cents. Every time I read that, I have to say it slowly. I'm starting to notice that the juice is behind all of the world's problems. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, and his super chats also make violent threats towards other content creators, like this recent one of Moist Critical, aka Penguin Zero.
That's a random name. Thanks to Canadian. Moist should be graped to death by a fat N-word. Okay.
Almost every video I will show is still up on YouTube at time of writing, with many featuring dozens of blatant violations of YouTube terms of service. I will be linking a document below divided into categories with links to each video and rough timestamps for where violent, racist, conspiracist, and misogynistic rhetoric can be heard. One major reason Synthetic Man likely still has a channel at all is because nobody but his most ardent 4chan fans are willing to watch so much of his content just to report him. If anyone should choose to notify YouTube of his multiple infractions shown throughout the video, that would have nothing to do with me. Now, for those still thinking this will be a hit piece, I'll even bump up the difficulty to hard mode. I won't attack him over personal issues in his past. I won't attack him over his appearance or perceived physical faults. I won't attack him over things like his family or his parents. I won't counter the political arguments I show that I obviously disagree with. I won't even argue about differences in opinions over video games. That one, you have no idea how hard that one is for me. Now, I will be thoroughly debunking some of the various conspiracies he shares and helping to educate on the issues that he clearly knows nothing about, but aside from that, this really can't be considered a hit piece, because it's not going to so much be about Synthetic Man as it is looking at people like him and how people become radicalized and miserable on the internet. Despite what people like him might think, he is not a unique individual. He's not a noticer. If there's one concrete, assured thing I can tell you from watching over 200 hours of his content, it's that Synth and his fans are not hard to understand. He is a deeply depressed, self-loathing, simple person who lashes out at anything that doesn't fit his incredibly narrow view of acceptability. And that goes for everything, ranging from relationships he doesn't think are okay to other people's opinions on video games he disagrees with. And almost all of that has to do with his hypocrisy. You see, for almost every point he makes, he himself will say something that either disproves it or shows that he takes part in something he condemns others for. For example, he loves decrying degeneracy and openly insulting trans people and anyone who's not a straight white man, really. Yet he sure does seem to engage in degeneracy of his own.
Bro, I don't even know. It definitely is some kind of weird psychological damage. Because it's like, it weirdly also combines with my strange fascination with eugenics. Because the idea of Fuda is some kind of like alternative Ubermensch being also like sort of ties into the fetish. Because typically how Fuda are depicted is some kind of like superior mix of the sexes. The best traits of women while also having like a penis and usually also a vagina. I don't know, man. It doesn't have to make sense because it's not real. It's a butt. God damn it. Yeah, whatever. It's a butt plug for new Abby to shove her giant Fuda cock in my ass. There you go. I said it. You guys gotta stop jerking off to porn. I'm a living example. My head only is filled with disgusting shit.
Now that's just a little taste of what's to come, so stick around, because those are fairly low ranking on the list of the dumbest shit he's said. I will get to his background and how he became more radicalized in a bit, but first I want to tackle how Synthetic Man is a hypocrite, because I think showing the examples of his thinking and how he goes out of the way to avoid accountability is foundational to understanding how someone becomes like him. It's a combination of a deep lack of curiosity and a lack of taking any accountability for one's actions. And when I say hypocrisy, I want to immediately say I don't mean the things he's gotten mad at others for criticizing him for, like constantly blaming casual gamers, yet getting called out that he just buys casual type games to play on stream. Because that criticism is petty and beneath me. No, I'd much rather show how Synthetic Man, despite quite literally claiming gaming as a hobby, calls himself a hardcore gamer and getting mad at anyone who doesn't match his arbitrary definitions, is actually not that well versed in the games he plays. He is a casual gamer. Now, most of Synthetic Man's content revolves around video games, and he seems to see himself as an authority on the subject, based solely on how often he unilaterally declares people who don't agree with him to be wrong, or more commonly, subhuman.
Fuck journalists. Fuck Discord subhumans. And people are like, why, do you have a Discord? No, I don't have a Discord.
You might think to yourself, surely with a channel dedicated to video games, Synth has some real expertise in gaming. Surely he's played hundreds of games. Well, no. See, the thing about Synthetic Man is he feels qualified to speak on things he really knows not that much about. For example, here are just a few of the iconic classic games he's never played.
I feel like almost every stream I get asked, like, have I played X game like a million times? There are a lot of games that I haven't played that I probably should. Have you played American McGee's Alice before? No. I would like to play more of them, since I only finished 10. I haven't played the Devil May Cry's either, Shunda. I played Turok 1's re-release on Steam for a while. I kind of got bored. I might just skip it too. Have you played any of the Shantae games? No, trailer, but I never played Jet Set Radio. Play Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005? No. I don't really play those games, but like RTS games, I don't play those, but I could try it. I didn't play Hitman 2 or 3 of the new ones, and I never played the original Super Mario RPG, so yeah, I kind of want to play the Xenosaga games, even if they end up not being that good. That'd be okay. I never played Control. I know some people recommended it to me. Admittedly, I still haven't played Morrowind to this day. Morbid friend, thanks to the €5. Why'd you stop at the 2B playthrough in Nier Automata? The third playthrough, which is completely different, amplifies the game exponentially. Yeah, well, I would have to play through a second shitty playthrough. Yeah, I know. Bully, I know. People tell me to play Bully all the time. I will before GTA 6 comes out, that's for sure. I'll also play GTA 4.
Granted, some of those examples might not be on par with Mario 64 or Halo, but for someone who has invested so much time and energy into depicting himself as some kind of authority on games, you'd think he'd at least try more of these things. A growing point of recent frustration in his community is that he really just plays the same kind of games over and over, those being open world slop that he never stops complaining about, games from his childhood that he never stops sucking off, and the woke slop that he forces himself to trudge through so he can prostrate it before his audience. Does he actually go out of his way to play any games other than the AAA releases he's always bitching about, yet always seems to buy and play? Or his nostalgia fix and random regurgitated open world slop he seemingly loathes, yet can't get enough of? No. Already you can see some of the hypocrisy here, and how Synthetic Man is quite literally just making his own problems to complain about them. On the Synth dedicated Kiwi Farms praise thread, people are mad at him for not playing more diverse games, though they also note that it's probably because they don't think he's skilled enough to play games like Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry 3. This is interesting because he did get bizarrely touchy over criticism of his video on Doom Eternal, where he complained it was too complicated.
Because you wasted, hundreds of hours or whatever getting good at a game, again, does not make your opinion any more valid than mine. I still beat the same thing you beat that I'm talking about, and I didn't like certain things. And learning stupid mechanics that I think are exploits, like hot swapping all these different guns and different cooldown timers and throwing in frag grenades, ice grenades, blah, 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 which I do that stuff, I just don't do it well enough because my reflexes just aren't fast enough. I'm not good at, quick reacting to a situation as much as some of these people, because the game's just too fast. The game's too fucking fast for me. If you wanted to boil down a lot of my complaints to Doom Eternal, I literally just think it's too fast.
Despite making his channel to ostensibly cast light on classic games, he's kind of just bad at game criticism in general, not just taking criticism. Synthetic Man has never been able to just say, hey, this game isn't for me, or more tellingly, is never able to break down why gameplay systems interact with each other, how encounter, environment, or gameplay design contributes to his criticisms. Instead, he usually just hand waves away everything, even when it reveals his own ineptitude with the gameplay, in the process revealing even further ineptitude with criticism and then being able to take criticism.
Having fun, I would just call it addiction. Because if you've ever watched any speedrun in your life, and I'm not even going to count GDQ, because all of them are degenerates, but if you just count normal speedrunners, look at their face while they're playing the game. Do they look like they're having fun? No. No, of course they're not, because they've played the game like 1,000 times. They know exactly what's going to happen. They've done the same thing over and over again, just to beat us slightly faster, because their dopamine receptors are fried. And so are yours, whether you admit it or not.
Even his fans have noticed that he's just not very good at playing games. They even make fun of him with the inside joke of a DSP moment when he fucks up on stream, a reference to the infamous internet lolcow Darkside Phil. For his part, Synth seemed to be in on the joke until recently, where I think he just got so mad at people calling him DSP and son of DSP that he just banned it from the chat. Again, not great with criticism. Now, these might seem like a bunch of pithy points, but I promise they are going somewhere. I bring up gaming first because that is what Synth constantly claims his channel is about, that he just wants to play games. He doesn't want political arguments.
But I don't even have a fucking political opinion. I just care about video games. That's it. Caring about video games is being right-wing in current year because, fuck you. How dare you not accept all these, shit that I don't even have to say. Because, saying it is offensive. But no, I've really gotten that mad over things that most normal people would find pretty trivial. But that's because I love video games. Unlike people who claim they love video games by jerking off whatever the most popular game is released at the time, I've been playing games since I was 5 years old. I've played probably well over 1,000 at this point. To save my own skin. Honestly, just because I don't care about politics that much.
See, he thinks it's the hypocritical left that's always injecting their politics into everything, which apparently he must be a secret leftist because he cannot go a fucking stream without making some pretty explicit political points.
Blatant white humiliation ritual I think I've seen in any media, where it's literally just
You know, what, you think I'm a diversity hire? You know, I had to be checked 4 times more than everyone else for this job? Do you think, we are not qualified for this? You know, things like that. And she's like, no, I do. You know, I mean, she said, like, some corporate speak shit. And I'm just literally, like, every time the bitch says something, I'm like, yes, you are a diversity hire. You're not qualified for this. You know, like, it basically just rattle off everything. You had lower college scores than everyone else. You're fucking an affirmative action hire, blah, 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 blah. You know, fuck you. Kill. I'm losing it. The low birth rates in the West are completely artificial based on what the elites have imposed on us, like, you know, birth control and microplastics and high fructose corn syrup, etc., etc., etc. Whereas in Japan, it's, you know, it's a result of the lifestyle, but the lifestyle is certainly nothing admirable. No comment. I love how even the fucking aliens love human women. This is, you know what, this is an allegory for race mixing.
See, this is why I started with gaming, because everything about his channel and all of his hypocrisy just stems from there. The very first thing he sells himself as, a gamer who doesn't want politics in his games, is basically an outright lie. He loves to call out other people who don't play games, loves to call journalists and casuals the people who are ruining the game industry.
See, that's the difference between me and most of you who watched the original video that you'll never understand. I actually care about gaming. I actually care about this industry. For you, it's just a casual hobby. If video games disappeared from the earth tomorrow, you would move on with your life and would be like nothing changed. Because that's always what you fucking normies do. Every goddamn time. Doesn't matter what the hobby is. You invade it and you ruin it. Because you feel excluded, or the rules are too hard, or it's too hard to get into. So, people change things to make it more accessible, and then you move in, and then you change everything, and you make it go to shit. And it's the same exact thing with the fucking feminists, leftists, SJWs, cucks, beta males, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't matter what buzzword. The group of people who are perpetually offended and ruin things with their politics. Their ever-changing politics, ever-changing rules. Constantly more fucking rules.
But look at what he plays. He's the casual player. He constantly lashes out at commies and the left for making things about politics, but from his jokes to the chat he encourages to the bizarre conspiracies and pretty blatant calls for violence, often inspired by something as simple as seeing a black woman in a video games.
Failing, thanks to 5 Euros. How are you disappointed by the Elden Ring DLC? Were you expecting to tone down the difficulty to cater to it? Okay, you fucking retard. Or, you know, that's a good thing. I'm sorry, this is Pride Month. You have dog shit taste. Absolutely an embarrassment. Are you kidding me? If the only thing you like about Souls is the difficulty, you're not a fan of Souls. You're not. Though that is not the reason why the Souls games are good. Never were. Still is not. If the only thing you like about the games is that they're hard, you're subhuman. Period.
Like, what makes someone a subhuman for using Discord or liking Souls games for their difficulty? It's so weird. I don't want to get too off track here, but it is bizarre how limited his lexicon of insults is for someone who spends so much time on 4chan. Like, he should have an arcane tome full of racial slurs nobody's heard since the Ottoman Empire, and the best he can do is just to call someone by the social media they use. Second best is usually call them a subhuman or a degenerate. Like most things he does, it's just so toothless and lame. The same goes for words like leftist, liberal, and communist, which, by the way, he uses all three interchangeably, probably because he doesn't know the difference, but also because he has to immediately label any dissenting opinion based on politics. For him, it's practically reflexive, like flinching. Most of the time, he has to make up political alignments and conspiracies to inject into his rants. Like, there can be no political statements made whatsoever, just a woman or person of color, and this will be how he reacts.
Dude, how do these keep getting made? BlackRock, this is how we, never mind. I'm not gonna Fed post. But if you just look at history, I'll put it this way. If you look at human history, When one man decides enough is enough and does something, okay? It would have happened by now. We are all domesticated soy boys in comparison to the Giga Chad of the past. Uncle Ted was right. Goddamn, we need the new Uncle Ted. Come on, there's gotta be... BlackRock needs to go down. Like, no one's buying this. There's only so many times they can get woke and go broke before people realize, this money's coming from somewhere. And they seem to have unlimited money. It's almost like voting with your wallet isn't enough, okay?
He just sees a woman or a person of color in his chat, brings up a political point, and he goes off with very little self-restraint. He cannot help himself but to bring up politics constantly, and for a portion of his fan base, that's why they watch him, for his based takes. And you can go to his Kiwi Farms thread to see them say as much. His chat often goads him into these political tangents, and seemingly pushes for more violent and unhinged rhetoric, especially during his drunken streams, but I'll get to that in a moment. First, we gotta keep hearing about how Synthetic Man is everything he claims to hate and be against. Let's get back to his opinions on the leftist commies ruining games who want to push their political ideologies on everyone.
This fucking... Okay, this is what happens when you live in a far left echo chamber and have 4 years. Everything you see is propaganda, but they're essentially just people who bitch and complain about anything that isn't leftist propaganda all day, and that's their entire life. They don't consume product because they're all fucking broke. They live with their parents, they're unemployed, and all they do is surround themselves with people who think exactly like them all day. That's all they do.
Now, you might be asking, why does this make him a hypocrite? He's just making fun of losers who still live with their parents and have no experience in the real world. Because, like everything else I've listed so far, the things he's getting mad at just describe him.
No, I just don't have nearly the bills most people do, because I'm one of those people who lives with their parents. Well, I live with my mother, not my dad, but you know. Job, yes. Full-time, definitely not. In the sense that, I mean, it's full-time in the sense it's my only form of income, you know, kind of. I don't know. I mean, it is. I'd say it is. We'll just say for the sake of argument, it is. But I don't work full-time by any stretch, no. I'm a lazy motherfucker. I do, you know, what it takes. Exactly the amount of effort it takes.
He's never really lived anywhere but home. He's 29 or 30, hasn't had a real job in years by his own attesting. By the way, this is not me speculating. He basically spent his entire life just playing and caring only about video games.
You should have a full-time job and this should be your hobby. That's just not going to happen. Because, first of all, I'm way too lazy to do a real job. Second of all, most people who have real job, if they make quality content, can't make the video. Like, look at how many videos ER released this year. And you wonder, I mean, everyone wants to be a perpetual child. I've been doomed to this existence by bad parenting, partially, but also a lot of bad choices I made.
Like everything with Synthetic Man, he has a double standard here. Practically the only consistent thing about him is his hypocrisy. While he fully admits that he's too lazy to have a real job, he doesn't take any of that responsibility on himself, instead blaming his parents for what he calls learned helplessness. This is a misappropriated psychiatry term that he basically uses to justify his ineptitude. We will talk more about this plenty later, but for now, it's worth pondering that when this laziness is brought up to him, his defense is that nobody knows what he's been through unless they've lived his life.
When are you going to accept your parents were trash and teach yourself what you need to know? You can't do that. That's cope. I would love for you to show me an example of someone with basically learned helplessness teaching them all the skills. Because every time I've heard something to that, they exaggerated their parents' issues. Because that just doesn't happen. At a certain point, it's just not gonna fucking happen. Therapy isn't for men because men want solutions, not validations. Women want validations. Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. I wanted validation for a long time, but not from therapy, from my parents. I never did get that. Eventually, you learn to give up on those things.
And some of you might already be getting ahead of me and wondering, does he reserve that same sentiment for the experiences of other people? Does he require that empathy and understanding for others' lived experiences and emotions before allowing them to be valid? Say, for example, when it comes to women, trans people, or people of color. Fuck no.
Since I'm anti-Zionist, does that make me pro-Palestine? Sure. It's not, like, I don't even care about the Middle East, that's the truth. I wish nobody cared, and I wish they got no foreign aid or any of that shit. I wish, you know, everyone had to fend for themselves. And so for those of you who are NEETs, obviously depressed, don't know the purpose in life, probably not going to get a girlfriend, etc., 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 you have to realize that if you can somehow manage to work up the motivation to do something, literally anything, some creative pursuit. That's why you see all these who are making video games, because they're the NEETs, dude. I'd say probably the most of them are not working a real job. They're probably living off of disability. Maybe they're working part-time or something. But the type of people who have the time to work 5 years on a game, they're the people who don't like actually work hard.
Throughout history, women have been attracted to men older than them, which is a conflict because women over 30, you know, roasties, are extremely jealous of young women. They take it out on men by saying men are pedophiles for dating a woman younger than them when the younger women are seeking out older men. So this is why, like, these fucking... Anyway, never mind. We're gonna get into severe incel talk in a second. But the point is, these empty egg cartons are an extreme issue with online discourse. They need to be banned. They need to be, like, banned en masse. Because their opinions are corrupting future generations because they have nothing better to do. They have, a lot of them have successful careers. You know, a lot of these women probably make more money than I do, almost certainly.
Already, you can see how Synth is deeply insecure, lashing out at so many things, often with tired insults, but for everything he bases his channel and personality on, he is undermined by himself. He's the one who can't go to a game without injecting politics, even when there are none. He's the casual who doesn't play a wide variety of games. He's the person who has issues with difficulty. And I know in the extremely unlikely circumstance he's made it this far into the video, like, come on, I've seen how he freaks out at being forced to watch a 2-minute cutscene. But if he's still watching, he'll likely be saying something to the effect of, but leftists say all art is political. Which is a true statement, but not in the way he thinks, where he believes leftists need all art to push a political agenda.
Ubisoft claims their games are not political, which obviously is false. Their games are political. I don't want to get into an argument of everything is political, because that's something that commies say, for good reason, you know, if you understand anything about communism or socialism. And if you want to get into, like, bitch boy semantics, which is something I like to do a lot, yeah, everything is political, technically. But that's not what people mean. They just don't have the words to describe what they mean.
And as society has made the slow march into making literally everything political, with many people simply telling you that everything is political, yet out of the other side of their mouth also telling me that I'm making things political when everything's political. So figure that one out. If they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all, right? But obviously The Last of Us Part 2 is probably the most infamous example of being unable to escape propaganda in modern games. Despite the fact the apocalypse took place in 2013, which is a few years before the trans movement even started, one of the major characters in the game, Lev, is trans.
When people say all art is political, they mean that art is political because artists are influenced by the culture around them, which includes the political strife and developments of the time, or how those political developments have affected them. Quick tangent, but one of the best examples I can think of to illustrate this is Francisco Goya. Francisco Goya was a court painter for royalty in the 1700s who made amazing photorealistic portraiture. Then, after witnessing some awful shit during the Spanish War for Independence, his entire artistic style changed. He made a series of drawings depicting the horrors of war in stark, brutal reality. Later, when an illness relapsed and he almost died, he made arguably his most famous works called the Black Paintings. When you compare and contrast his early work with his later work, there is a stark difference to the twisted, hellish style in the Black Paintings. While the art itself is depicting death, sadness, madness, and whatever else Goya was going through, the art itself is undeniably influenced through the lens of its creator by the political state of the time. This is what people mean when they say art is political. It's not that the art is taking a political stance or pushing an agenda. It's saying that you can't properly discuss these works of art and their themes without acknowledging the political upheaval in Spain at the end of the Napoleonic era and how it directly and deeply affected Goya. No art class or history teacher would bring up Goya's black paintings without talking about how they were affected by politics. And when you consider his proximity to politics, witnessing of war and strife, and falling from royal favor, it makes sense that the art he's creating reflects a more pessimistic and macabre worldview. Was this an elaborate tangent just to show people some of my favorite paintings? But also, the next time somebody scoffs at all art being political, you can immediately tell how much they actually know about art and its themes, and how art is directly affected by the time and political climate it's made in. There are plenty of trends in films that reflect this, by the way. Economic anxiety is represented by the slew of haunted house horror movies after the mid-2000s housing collapse, or the glut of slasher movies depicting teens engaging in ruinous sex and drugs as killer fodder during the height of the AIDS epidemic and the crack crisis in America. So when Synth goes on a rant about Jews or black people or women and says leftists can't say anything because they say everything is political, that's not how that argument works. All art is influenced by politics, but that doesn't mean all art is trying to push a specific agenda, a mistake that he makes constantly. In fairness, Synth's chat brings things up almost as much as he does though, particularly when it comes to things they can make fun of him for. One of these things is an in-joke in his community about Fuda. Now, I don't want to go and do a whole tangent on Fudanari, because you see, Synthetic Man is wildly transphobic. Basically doesn't believe there's any such thing as a passing trans woman, that it's gay to like trans women, that they're physically repulsive. So he hates women with penises, you'd think. Unless it's an anime.
My experience with seeing women's cruelty, what made me Fuda built. Bro, I don't even know. It definitely is some kind of weird psychological damage. Because it's like, it weirdly also combines with my strange fascination with eugenics. Again, like, Fuda is something that really only works in anime. There's many fetishes that only work in anime. That's why, like, autists, sweebs, whatever, always say 2D is better than 3D. There's a lot of ideas. Like, femboys are another one where it's like, if you see, like, the real feminine men trying to be femboys, it's repulsive to any straight person, no matter how feminine they try to appear to be. The best they can accomplish is with filters on photos, but whenever you see video, it's never enough. There's gonna be a primal part of your brain that still knows it's a man, you know what I mean? But with anime, you can make anything look like anything. Husky, I said this earlier this stream. Some fetishes are meant for only fiction, okay? I'm sure in like, I don't know, anime, I've said it a million times, anime can make almost anything appealing. That's the problem with anime. Anime is unintentionally helping the globalist agenda by being an art style that can manipulate the minds of the at least slightly autistic. You know, which I may be. That's what I'll say on this matter.
Because of what he cites to be a porn addiction, Synth apparently does find trans people attractive just when they're anime girls with big cocks. Like, whatever floats your boat, dude, as long as it's not lolly shit and nobody's getting hurt, knock yourself out. I don't give a fuck. But if you're gonna say that Fudanari isn't trans, you're definitely wrong. Trans is anything outside of cisgender. The Fuda stuff is a point his chat is constantly making fun of him for. And like, everything he says is kind of just cope that he got drunk once and admitting to liking Fuda muscle mommies.
I mean, yeah, I'm a coomer, but like, I don't even fucking really have a waifu. He'll definitely grill me on the Fuda question. Well, that could be entertaining. I don't really care. Like, What do you expect me to say? It's just like, I'm a coomer. What do you want from me? Openly have waifu? You're a zoomer, bud. I was just joking. I don't have a waifu. And also, plenty of millennials have waifus. You fucking... Whatever the opposite of an internet person is. I don't know. Third world, shit skin. I'm kidding. People are really gonna think I'm racist if I keep going that. Fast Mystery, thanks to 20 pesos. Griffin thinks poison is a food that you like. I think technically she's a she-male, so that would make her a man with, you know, extensive surgery, like a Brazilian troon, basically. I don't think... There's very few canonical fudas in fiction.
Real quick, one other point. It should not surprise you by now that Synth is, like, crazy racist. Despite the fact that he did this very scientific poll to prove, specifically to me, like by name, that his chat couldn't be racist because they aren't all white.
And I wanted to say I would shoot myself before I save a crimer. All right. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, in game sense, it's Indian. So this is not like some white guy being like, again, for the lurking leftists, this is an Indian saying this, okay? So if you're thinking like, oh, only white people are racist or whatever, no. I have a very diverse chat. In fact, if there's any lurking lefties in here, let's do a poll right here. Are you... Hold on. It's been a while since I've done a racial poll. Are you white? There you go. So here you go. So all lurking leftist watch as my audience is more diverse than any bread tuber. Get shocked. Be about to be blown away at your own because I know you're lurking, especially a certain troon who's making a hit piece on me. Make sure to get this for the video.
This is so good. This is so good. You want to see how he constantly contradicts himself? Buckle up. You might think that's not how polls work. You're going to give an audience an end goal you want them to meet, and then they meet it, shockingly enough. Well, not only is there basically no way to do an accurate poll like this in this setting, but people who aren't white can be racist too, as evidenced by something that happened in another stream where a Mexican fan of his started posting anti-Semitic memes in the chat. So he even has fans in other countries and acknowledges that they're also racist.
Just some guy in chat who's just talking about JQ shit out of nowhere. How many people in this chat just come here to fucking get on the soapbox? We know Klaus Mystery. Klaus Mystery. I should figure out how much a Mexican peso is worth, and
it's like 20 pesos to $1.
And as for being not racist, Synth did this poll to show he's not racist. On the exact same stream, he said this shit.
The whole point of the race shit is for the divide of the white man. I don't think they really needed the help, though. I don't think the white man has ever stood with each other. We would also have to count the light Hispanics if we're counting Italians due to Spain. No, Hispanics are mixed with native South Americans, though. Or, I guess Mexico is technically North America. That is a completely different ethnicity. Some of the dark Italians, I'm sure, are mixed with North African. But that's not the entire race. Hispanics are an entire race of mutts. Quite literally, an entire race of mutts.
Now, that's not where this little polling saga ends, because in another stream, when his chat was pestering him about being Aryan Chads or whatever the fuck, he talks about if he did a poll, half of them would lie.
Aryan is not a meme. Aryan is not a meme. You motherfuckers aren't even blonde hair, blue-eyed anyway. If I did a poll, half you would fucking lie. And as a bunch of people have already told you, I know, the real Aryans weren't even German.
So, not only does he acknowledge that his chat lies during polls, but also that non-white people can be racist. So, good job, I guess, at proving nothing but your own ineptitude in this case.
Make sure to get this for the video.
Like, the dude can't not contradict himself. From just that little interaction, you might get the idea that Synth isn't very smart. I'm not saying that. I'm not gonna say that. Somebody else might say it. I'm not going to. Remember, I'm not actually asserting anything here. Just someone out there might. But to that point, I'd recommend looking at this part where he has his friend on the stream and brings up a thought experiment. See, the next part has it all. Him not being good at games, him being wildly racist, and him contradicting himself.
Well, how would you feel if you hadn't eaten breakfast last morning?
I never eat breakfast.
Right, but how would you feel if you hadn't eaten breakfast? Or how would you feel if you had, since you don't eat breakfast?
Kobe, what are you trying to get at right now? Just fucking spit it out.
Oh my god, this is... I'm DSPing this so hard, but it's partially because you're distracting me with... Look at my drive jacket.
I genuinely don't know what the fuck you're talking about. How would I feel if I ate breakfast?
Okay, the whole point is, it's based on a psychological experiment. Who was it in chat who was talking about it last time? Was it Bisky? I don't know, he was describing it. It's based on a psychological experiment, where basically can't conceptualize... Well, they can't conceptualize multiple things. They can't really imagine an alternate past or future, or imagine the future, and they also don't have sympathy or empathy, and it's basically just an analysis of criminals.
Unsurprisingly, this little thought experiment originated on a 4chan thread. This is nothing but black people stupid memes, which is how it spread online, and probably how Synth knows about it. It's also, I cannot stress this enough, not how IQ works. It won't surprise you to know this originated on 4chan as a racist way to say black prisoners basically don't have object permanence. There's literally no proof this experiment ever happened outside of this one 4chan post, so at most it should be taken as probably fake. However, the Synthetic Man thinks it's surefire proof of how to tell who's smart and who's not. To ask them a hypothetical question, if they're unable to grasp that hypothetical, they're an idiot. And then his friend says this.
Like, basically, dumb people can't conceptualize hypotheticals. Like, that's...
I just gave the example of you never, conceiving the idea of mine and Devin's hypotheticals.
No, I understand the hypotheticals, and I do play along.
You bitch and moan all the time.
What are you talking about? Name an example.
The first thing that popped in my head, I don't know why, but when we were moving shit to when you still lived at your old house, we were moving shit to your storage locker, and Devin and I asked you a hypothetical. We're like, Devin, what would you do, or Kobe, what would you do if right now a plane crashed, like right beside you? And you're like, I don't know, I would just it would crash, I guess. I'm like,
I can't stand your lies. I can't stand them. Your lies. You lie like you breathe.
Now, this could be a friend just making up a story, but I kinda doubt it. The specifics are too off the cuff, plus Synth has attested many times to having memory problems. At any rate, I believe the friend story way more than a just random 4chan post, but the point here is that Synth is ready to believe the 4chan post was an entirely real thing, a real way to determine people as being mentally inferior, literally eugenics, and then it applies to him too. Now, again, this could well be a fake story from his friend, but judging by Synth's reaction, his insecurity, which we already know about, and the way he kind of just quickly dropped the subject and moved the fuck on, I kinda doubt it's fake. You'll notice plenty more little hypocritical points for Synthetic Man throughout, but I want to start here to really hopefully give you a sense of who he is now. We will go more into the depth of his radicalization and his beliefs, including the provably false places he gets his evidence for his beliefs from later. And as I'll show, these aspects of Synthetic Man, more than any opinions on gaming and wokeness, are what seem to draw his most fervent fans. The ones that identify with his life, the way he chooses to live, and who he chooses to blame for all the problems in the world. This reflexive, reactionary streak of lashing out at the slightest perceived infractions of wokeness, existent or not, is why people congregate in places like Kiwi Farms and 4chan, and on Synthetic Man's channel. But Synth's channel wasn't always such an open cesspit where his chatters felt confident making allusions to Moist Critical being sexually assaulted by N-words. Synthetic himself may have had some questionable and borderline extremist beliefs, but the work he was doing started very differently. In fact, when he started his channel 3 or 4 years ago, he seemed like an entirely different person, and a much happier one too. In 2020, Synthetic Man set about creating a YouTube channel that, in his words, was mostly meant to review current games and shine a spotlight on games he enjoyed and wanted to show to more people. This is evidenced by the first few videos remaining on the channel, a video of the Resident Evil 3 remake and a video talking about 10 games he wished were more acknowledged.
On this site made a top 10 list, there would be countless games worth your time left unmentioned. Really, 10 doesn't even do a list like this justice, so don't think of this as the definitive 10 games that you refuse to play. These are just the 10 best games I've played that didn't get the praise, attention, or copies sold that they deserve.
Going back to these videos, there is a stark difference in his style, presentation, and attitude. While there are minor hints towards some transgressive attitudes, like complaining about Jill being too much of a girl boss, they are mostly run-of-the-mill YouTube videos, and also videos that for a new YouTube channel only did okay in terms of views. Then he did a few unscripted videos ranting about The Last of Us, Pokemon, and a video titled Gaming is Dying, You Are Killing It, featuring the faces of other YouTube critics like Stephanie Sterling. And these are where his modern persona originates. Synthetic Man has spoken many times about how he doesn't script his videos, he talks off the cuff, and as a result, records what he calls rants about certain topics. What started as content likely meant to pad his output until he could put together more thoughtful videos he enjoyed and started the channel for, such as a retrospective series, these intensely negative rants quickly became his most popular content. Just compare the views between retrospectives and rants released around the same times, like the Demon Soul and Spyro retrospectives not cracking 20,000 views, while the Gaming is Dying rant is over 400,000 after 4 years. This would become a trend to the point that it's been over a year since his last video that wasn't a review on a recent game, commentary on an industry event, or just ranting about something dying. And he's always talking on stream about eventually getting to various ideas for videos that just never materialize. If you go back to the beginning and watch his videos, you also see how frustrating this experience was for him.
Well, you guys asked for it. You want another rant? I'll give you another fucking rant. You gamers are addicts, and you would buy the shit anyway, because you can't be fucking bothered to go play some old games. Like, that's all it is at the end of the day. That's why I started this channel, was I just wanted to talk about old games that I thought people should play, right? That was it. That's literally why my old video titles are why you should play, you know, even if nobody clicks on that and nobody cares, because people don't want to hear game suggestions, right? The gaming audience is pretty much just divided into two categories. People who want to hear somebody complain, which I guess is what I'm doing right now, and then people who just want to hear, you know, someone jerking off and, like, getting hyped about whatever the new big thing is. I just, in my Spyro video, which you guys didn't fucking watch, some of you, you know, I know some of you watched it, those of you who commented, you know, love you guys, but everyone else, you didn't fucking care, because as I've said before, you don't want to hear game recommendations. You just want to hear someone shit on something or somebody hype something up coming out new.
Synthetic Man began his channel to make gaming videos and seemed genuinely interested in playing and talking about the games he loved from his childhood, not from a point of view of elitism or decrying wokeness, just because he genuinely loved games. Despite his lack of overall knowledge about games, I do genuinely believe that he at least loves games, or at least his nostalgic memories of the ones he loves. I believe he has an abiding appreciation for games from his childhood like Crash, Spyro, Darksiders, and others. Yet, he also quickly realized it wasn't enough to stand out in a crowded content landscape, or at least that his audience reacted more positively to content where he was complaining or getting angry.
This is not a persona I'm putting on. This is legitimately what I think. Unlike channels like Angry Joe, I have never had to fake anger for a video. I actually used to review some older games I'd never played before at people's request or on Patreon. Honestly, I just couldn't stand to do that anymore after a certain point. My passion for YouTube has dwindled despite my increasing success. So now I pretty much only make videos I want to make for one reason or another. But that said, there certainly is a lot of credence to this criticism. There's certainly been many times that I've wanted to talk about a game, but I feel like I couldn't because I know nobody would watch it. Now, you might believe otherwise, but I have the numbers to back it up. It is certainly much less successful than my lazier videos like these TV show reviews I've been doing this year. Which kind of brings me to another side point. I don't really consider this as a criticism, this is just a suggestion, but a lot of you seem to want me to cover any pop culture, especially really shitty, woke TV shows or movies, and I understand why. I clearly have a anti-SJW audience, whatever you want to call that, right? I'm not surprised by it all. Obviously, in my first dozen videos on my channel, I made those 2 Last of Us 2 shit posts.
And here's a point that I absolutely understand Synth and what he's been through. I started my channel around the same time with a similar goal. Occasional video essays and explorations of forgotten games. I didn't do retrospectives so much as in-depth documentaries where I interviewed game developers with interesting stories to tell, and polished video essays dissecting the themes of games. But like Synth, I didn't get much traction because it is a very crowded space. I wasn't able to make this a full-time job until I started making political content and intensely researched deep dives. And on the now rare occasion I might make a gaming video, the views are absolutely paltry compared to even the stream highlight videos I throw out to pad views in between bigger projects. Like, the views I get for one of my shooter ranking videos, where I play through Xbox 360 era shooters and rank them all, are literally not even worth the effort I put into them. But I love doing them, so I kind of just suck it up and put them out for the people who do want to watch those. I understand the grind, and I understand how demoralizing it can be to be excited for a video, to put a lot of time, effort, and passion into it, and then have it fail. But on YouTube, you don't always get to pick your audience so much as your audience finds you, and you have to choose to follow them or not. Which brings me to the Synth Cells, the joking name his fans go by. His fans come in a few flavors, with some being casual Gamergate types, or 20-30-somethings looking for a place to say slurs they could say in middle school and reminisce about a time when Edge Kino 360 games were all the rage. I'm willing to bet a sizable portion of his base are people like this, or even fans of adjacent channels like Nerdrotic or The Quartering. A lot of people just seem to yearn for a less woke time, perpetually stuck in a high schooler state of mind and looking for a place where they can tell edgy jokes without worrying about offending the leftist woke tards or whatever. These people tend to identify with Synth on some level, or at least agree with his more milquetoast takes on things like the gaming industry. But what about his more hardcore fans? Synth himself has admitted to browsing 4chan threads and Kiwi Farms boards before, so it shouldn't surprise you that some of his fan base congregate in similar areas. What's interesting here is that they gather out of a genuine fandom, it seems, and Synthetic Man has made no attempts to make a fan Discord or website of his own, despite plenty of people asking in the comments. He has professed to be incredibly lazy, a point we will talk about more, but that leads to this odd balance where he has a loyal audience, but doesn't want to do anything to maintain them. In fact, he kind of seems to hate them, actually, begrudgingly accepting their super chats out of obligation at this point. Instead, the fans have created their own private Discords, both of which I managed to get into, and have additional gatherings in places like Kiwi Farms, a site well known for gathering private information to lead harassment and doxing campaigns. The Discord is filled with the same kind of detached cynicism and I'm too cool to care about anything open racism and bigotry you will see anywhere on 4chan. Hardly a conversation that goes by that doesn't throw in a random slur, but it's a kind of hollow hate that just doesn't feel genuine. Their heart isn't in it. His Discord might talk about Uncle T and Uncle A, barely coded names for Adolf Hitler and Ted Kaczynski, but this is just another empty corner of the internet for seething, sad teenagers and college dropouts to come together and vent their frustrations to blame anyone but themselves for their problems in life. The Kiwi Farms thread, however, is particularly interesting because it gives a look into just how close Synthetic is to the mentality of his fanbase. See, they don't see Synthetic Man as some kind of ideological leader. They see him as a loser just like them. They don't regard him with much respect, and many people barely seem to even like him. They simply follow and goad him because they find his meltdowns and conspiracy rants entertaining. Some might identify and like him a bit more than that, but from what I saw, it seems like his fanbase doesn't find his personality entertaining so much as the meltdowns they can push him into. I read over 100 pages of the Kiwi Farms thread, and all I really found was that Synthetic Man's most passionate fans think he's an autistic loser who's bad at video games. They make fun of him for the Fuda and lolly stuff they speculate he takes part in. They openly say he's bad at any games that aren't for kids, and that despite having a gaming channel, he doesn't seem to actually have played many games. I'm sure it's all meant to be in good fun in their twisted way, but they also note that he can't take jokes, is prone to melting down, and other flaws they poke at alongside calling him a Zoomer, despite his open hatred of Zoomers for whatever arbitrary reason. And they also constantly insult his gaming abilities and choices in games. Yet many stick around because they themselves appreciate how doomer and black-pilled he is. They appreciate how real he is for calling out Jewish people and calling out wokeness and not being another shill in the game industry. But way back when he was first getting started, his base takes and veiled conspiracies and slightly edgy jokes were what got their attention to begin with. They encouraged him in a very real way. They made Synthetic Man the channel he would become. They drove him through ever-mounting stages of constant cynicism and negativity, drawing his conspiracist and bigoted impulses out into the public for their own edification. Maybe not his entire audience, but to these folks, Synth is a lolcow. They don't care about his mental health. They don't care about whatever problems he has.
Dude, I could. I mean, I probably made more money this stream than ever any other stream by far. I could drink a little bit more, but not much, because I'm already like fucking blasted. You know, I'm sure there's other synonyms for drinking, but I'm not into the culture. So whatever, fuck. Okay, I am gonna pee. I'll drink a little bit more, just because I think that's what you guys want to see at this point. But I'll be back. I do need to pee again.
He has been pushed into being more radical by the worst parts of his audience, which in turn spreads unfounded conspiracies to members of his audience that might just be following or watching because they enjoy a sense of edgy humor. So when there's a black person or woman on screen and Synth freaks out, it's never just him alone, but his chat and viewers typing in thinly veiled calls for violence.
Oh my god, when I think of World of Warcraft, that's I think oh, nothing out of the ordinary here. This is normal. Just keep seeing it over and over again, and it's normal. I mean, it's clear that's what works on normies. They should just start showing media of mutilating, like, maybe I should be careful about how I say this, but I really do mean it. If they start showing TV shows of, like, encouraging, we'll just say, medical procedures on children.
Like, pretty much any time they type in T something D. This dog whistle began in neo-Nazi circles as TND, the N standing for a racial slur, and no points for guessing which one, making up the phrase total blank death, as a now memeified call to kill everyone is part of that group. But you can basically swap out that slur for any others, so you get TTD for trans people, TKD for Jewish people, and more, just as a quick explainer of what you're seeing now. And so Synth is encouraged by these ravenous dipshits in his chat, who constantly try to push him to acknowledge events he doesn't want to or engage in rants that he has to censor himself on.
You should talk about women of your past. I'm not talking about women. Talking about women is a dangerous game. That's a dangerous game. Because I've made comments. I haven't said horrible things, but I've said some things. I've revealed my power level a couple times. That being said, there are some based women. It's pretty rare. It's pretty fucking rare, but there are some.
And they very openly want him to continue being more radical and even violent with his content based on what they say in the Kiwi Farms thread. In turn, I imagine Synth has played a part in taking some of those casual fans and exposing them to his wildly stupid conspiracies, further spreading often outright Nazi talking points and often explicit calls for violence.
In the synthetic regime, everyone would have mandatory test injections. And, well, I would have a bunch of other things I'm not allowed to say. But yeah, that'd be step one. Well, that's not step one. Step one is exterminate all the people destroying society. But yeah, I can't say who those people are, but, you know, there's a lot of people who need to not exist anymore. It's time to make it stop. Nobody says bigotry except subhumans. People who should be executed. Every single one of them, without exception. They need to face the wall. It's time. Firing squad time now. No, you know what? I'm gonna do what all the claims about World War II. This is what I'm saying. Like, people, they keep saying the pendulum will swing back. It's like the pendulum will swing back when Larry Fink is decapitated on live television.
People in his comments and chat will parrot the conspiracies he spreads about the Jews and BlackRock. I've done an entire video about anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that has more research than Synthetic Man or any of his loyal adherents have ever done in their lives, so check that out and you'll be able to recognize why their conspiracies are bullshit right on their faces. And don't worry, we will talk about and debunk the scary conspiracy around BlackRock a little later because it's just so fucking stupid. Synth is well aware of how much of a cynical doomer he is. He practically wears it as a badge of honor. He distinguishes himself, according to himself, as different from other anti-woke creators because he isn't a shill. He'll always tell the truth. Also, the dude has no self-esteem, like, whatsoever, which is part of why I think he's gathered this group of misanthropes like flies on shit. Because you have all these incredibly vitriolic, hateful people mad at the world and that nobody agrees with them or understands them, and he probably felt like he found his group. It just happens to be a group that he hates and that also seems to hate him. So, 4 years after starting a channel, failing with his initial premise, and then chasing an audience that has really only repaid him with endless criticism, insults, and prodding, how has this already incredibly insecure, lonely man ended up? I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Even as a 27-year-old man, my mother still treats me like a child and then wonders why I'm a man-child. It's kind of just, it's obviously the alcohol is making me say it on stream, but I have been thinking about this too much lately. Just because I'm 28 years old, things aren't getting any better.
Tell us about a day in the life of you. A day in the life of me is not exciting. It's not exciting. It's not that far off from being a NEET. It's not that complicated. I haven't had a real job in quite a while. Listen, some things, I'm not saying to follow my life advice at all. I'm really not, because I'm sort of black-pilled on certain things. And the black pill is not a good way to approach life. It usually just leads to bad things, because you need to have some kind of optimism to achieve anything in your life.
For me, I just feel like in normal circumstances, I would probably be married by now. But unfortunately, you know, my life path just didn't happen that way. Now I'm thoroughly fucked in the head. So, you know, it doesn't help that the relationships between men and women are so thoroughly just tattered, frayed. You know, it's in a really bad state because of online dating. I don't want to talk about it. That's not even the type of thing this video is about right now. But let's just say I'm not nihilistic, because life does have purpose, but I can't get that purpose, which is why I'm sad. There you go.
By now, I hope I'm giving a pretty comprehensive idea for the kind of cage Synthetic Man and people like him form for themselves, lashing out at everything over perceived slights until the only thing remaining are other hateful and lonely people like them, spending their limited time on Earth tormenting and mocking each other with these toothless slurs and pointless mind games. For Synth's content aspirations, it also probably explains why he's stagnated so much. He's latched onto this community that found him, and they got him to perform like a trained monkey, using his skills in editing and video production to dance on command. And now he has no recourse but to keep dancing because they are the only audience who will watch. Despite claiming he's been blacklisted, the odds are that his channel growth has stagnated because he has gained a reputation for being overwhelmingly toxic, racist, and misogynistic. Like, when these guys are calling you out, that's not good for business.
Bad about reusing enemies. Oh, why is that a problem? I don't know, dude. How about you just stop sharing your shitty opinion? There's an idea.
There is an idea.
Consider your opinion rebutted thoroughly.
I like where this idea is going. Stop sharing your shitty opinion.
Yeah.
The other half of that stagnation probably has something to do with the fact that his channel has very little variety in either the games he streams or what he makes videos on. As I mentioned, he's basically given up any kind of retrospective videos or positive conversations of any kind. Most of his modern game reviews are overwhelmingly negative, and the rest of his content is just ranting or reactions to wokeness and game industry media events, or random games he can double up on content by taking his streams and editing them into videos. Content that even his loyal audience is finding tiresome and phoned in. And hey, I don't begrudge anybody using their own content or reusing it. As I've mentioned, I've done the same thing with my audience to give them something to watch and help with views between bigger or scheduled projects, but your output can't only be that and you still expect to grow. However, I'd caution you to hesitate with sympathizing too much with Synthetic Man. While he certainly made his own miserable bed and has no choice now but to lie in it, he has made the worst of his situation by using his platform to spread outright lies about Jewish people, black people, COVID, election fraud, conspiracies about elites controlling society, violent rhetoric and threats, and plenty more. So now that we know how Synthetic Man thinks, and how he kind of got that way, let's get into what he actually shares about his beliefs. I'm going to start off by addressing the big bad BlackRock conspiracy that he loves to share. Synth usually just makes assertions about BlackRock funding games specifically to a variety of ends, all driven by, according to him, elites trying to control society.
This is just random fucking ethnicities all together. Like, fucking the globalism is too goddamn... You arrived at the house right, thanks to $2. Alex Jones was right about the globals, absolutely. It depends on how the homosexual romance is handled. If it is like a major part of the main story, like mandatory cutscene, yeah, I mean, I would say it almost certainly was made for propaganda purposes. When you know the BlackRock exists, and you know their social credit score, ESG, exists, and they fund companies that put woke shit in, then obviously it's all gonna seem unnatural. They gave into the corporate funding, and now the game's gonna bomb. I don't want to get too edgy in this video at the risk of getting banned, but at what point do we as a collective have to realize that voting with our wallet is not enough, because these investment firms effectively have unlimited money, especially if they're getting that money from Microsoft, and yes, Microsoft is one of the biggest contributors to BlackRock, or if they're getting that money directly from the government, which the Canadian government has funded many woke games at this point.
The BlackRock elite stuff kind of blurs together with the anti-Semitism stuff, which I will get to in a minute, but his whole thought process is very obviously driven by either Alex Jones or people close to Jones, like Paul Joseph Watson, both of whom Synth has admitted to agreeing with and getting information from.
This is the most obvious fucking, like, Fed setup to kill Trump that, you know, that we've seen. It's the most... Because we live in the age of the internet, it's so easy to find all the little details, you know? The Paul Joseph Watson videos cover a lot of them. Just so we understand what just happened, I paid $17.76 for a 40-minute game. That was only 40 minutes. It's basically you're just donating to Alex Jones, probably because, you know, if you kept up with the Sandy Hook situation, you'll know he needs the money. Because the feds finally said no. He spoke too much truth. So,
Synthetic Man is constantly pushing the idea that there's a shadowy New World Order cabal putting chemicals in our foods to make us effeminate, and saying that if we weren't so cucked by GMOs and processed foods, people would rise up and kill them. That's what he's implying here.
And I don't know. Like, a lot of us have been poisoned by chemicals, quite literally, for our entire lives. And that has irreparably damaged us. And there still seems to be no end in sight to it, because everything is about making things cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So we have seed oils and everything. We cook things in plastic, so we're consuming microplastics which have xenoestrogens in them. Well, long story short, because of birth... This could sound like a fucking conspiracy theory. I don't feel like bringing shit up. Birth control fucks with your hormones, and it's made women attracted to twinks. There you go. There's my conspiracy theory for you that is not a conspiracy. The elites know that. You think they don't know this shit? They know they can't afford to starve people, because something then might actually happen. That's the only way. I have become so black-pilled to the point where I think if guns were taken away, it still wouldn't be enough of a pushback. Like, honestly, I might be wrong, because they obviously haven't pushed heavy enough. They're just, the ATF is just their tool to slowly wear away gun rights over time. But, well, the easiest way to get rid of soy would be to stop consuming vegetable oil. The problem is vegetable oil is in everything, because vegetable oil is soybean oil, which literally changes your brain chemistry. Like, the point is, she's going to choose whatever is the most attractive to her out of the 1,000 people. That is all it is. And so what ends up happening is that a small percentage of the population is having more sex than ever, and then a significant amount are having none at all, basically. And what happens when that happens? Well, historically, there's been revolutions, there's been wars, because generally men are supposed to, you know, breed. They're supposed to get with a woman and have children. That's the whole point of continuing life on this planet.
And that's starting to not happen with a significant percentage of the population, which is why there's so many people who are saying 2 more weeks style shit. The only difference between now and all those other times in history is that there's so many chemicals flowing in our body that are lowering our testosterone, and society is so complicated, and there's so many different there's escapism. There's so much escapism. That's the only reason something hasn't happened yet, because there's a million copes, and we're not half the men that our grandparents or great-grandparents were.
Quick note, this isn't how it works. While the chemical fillers used in processed foods are not good for you, they're yet another byproduct of the ever-churning machine of capital-influenced government or lack of government oversight of commercial products. Maximum output for companies with minimal safety or care. That's kind of capitalism's whole thing. However, the idea that people are being poisoned to be less combative or whatever is ridiculous. I recommend watching H-Bomber Guy's video on Paul Joseph Watson and the soy conspiracy for a full breakdown, but there are levels to the stupidity of this conspiracy, and the gist of it is that soybeans contain chemical compounds called phytoestrogens, which dumbasses like Synth believe are the same as estrogen, but they aren't, they just have a similar chemical makeup. Similarities in molecular compositions happen all the time for things with drastically different jobs and effects. For example, you couldn't switch CO2 and oxygen molecules and expect them to do the same thing just because CO2 is primarily made of oxygen. Similarly, phytoestrogens are different than actual estrogen produced by the human body. The exact same feminizing chemicals, according to people like Synth, are found entirely naturally in fruits like berries, apples, and pomegranates, veggies like celery, potatoes, and garlic, and tons of other plants. The prefix phyto literally refers to plants. Phytoestrogens can work in conjunction with estrogen and are able to bind to the estrogen receptors in the body, but they do not have the same effects. In fact, they come in a variety of chemical compounds of their own, some of which help estrogen's effects, others negate them. But regardless, there's no evidence that they cause harmful effects, and after this conspiracy spread several years ago, there was extensive research done completely disproving the idea that soy had literally any feminizing effects. The fact that Synth simply regurgitates these old, tired talking points shows he never actually does any research into the conspiracies he spreads, because if he did, he wouldn't be able to spread them. He just parrots what he hears from reactionary grifters like Alex Jones, Paul Joseph Watson, and whoever he goes and meets with on 4chan boards. Which brings me to BlackRock. Like most conspiracies, when you actually do like just a hint of research, it's actually super boring. If you're in the games industry, you have probably heard BlackRock in conjunction with Sweet Baby Inc. So let's talk about that. For those not in the know, Sweet Baby Inc. is a marketing and consultation firm that consults primarily on diversity and representation in video games. Earlier this year, a bunch of people on the internet latched onto Sweet Baby Inc. as the surefire reason for wokeness being forced into their games. Wokeness here meaning like a person of color, like that's it. Well, gamers reacted very normally and began a hate campaign they called Gamergate 2 a few months back. While it's mostly fizzled to nothing, as ringleaders like Mark Grums Kern have had to jump from one controversy to another in a desperate attempt to stay relevant, essentially merging with the already existing anti-woke nerd space consisting of channels like The Quartering. This is just the same grift with a few new losers. Synth definitely buys into a couple of these narratives, mostly when it comes to the go woke, go broke mentality, where people look at games that didn't sell well and lay the performance on the fact that they have like women or something.
The Hollywood elites, with 3 parentheses, just they're pissing on you because like, yeah, gaming's nothing to us. Goy, you know, you're fucking worthless. Everything you like sucks. Really pushing the ugly black woman pro tags on us so aggressively. Maybe they want black women to be eventually preferred by us, but it's having the opposite effect. There's just certain things in this world that are not going to work out well. And having black female protagonists in video games is one of those. Where it's like, listen, nobody cares if you have a character creator and you can make any race, gender, whatever. Though, actually, obviously people do care if you have, like, pronouns or can make some weird, like, abomination thing that's unintentional. You know, some people do care about that, but having... This is just a recipe for disaster. And it puts a massive fucking hole in all of the communist leftist retardation where they're trying to say this wokeness is about the money. But it's bombed a million times. Like, there's already been so many, you know, go woke, go broke games at this point that
it's an NPC response. There's a mountain of evidence to say this isn't about the money, it's about the message, right?
The reality here, of course, is that despite often blaming game journalists for the industry's woes, those game journalists didn't even like these games. They got tepid reviews from critics and fans, which is a contributing factor of why they failed. There's also plenty of incredibly diverse games that have sold well and continue to sell well. Look at the diversity of games like Mortal Kombat, Fortnite, Valorant, Overwatch, League, and plenty more. It's not a surprise that more developers are following suit and putting more diverse characters in their games because there's so many games that prove you can go woke without going broke. You just have to actually make a game that people want to play, which games like Flintlock and Conquered didn't. Like, gee, I wonder why another middling indie Souls-like didn't sell well. Couldn't have been a crowded market, must be the wokeness. And probably most importantly for game companies as businesses, there is a shit ton of market research that supports the idea that going woke broadly is profitable, or at the very least, is something that most of the biggest and most profitable gaming franchises have in common. But alongside Sweet Baby, BlackRock kept getting brought up as one of these companies fueling wokeness being forced in everything. People on the internet endlessly repeat the claim that Sweet Baby Inc. is in fact entirely funded by BlackRock or DEI initiatives. There's literally no evidence I could find of this. I'd love to be proven wrong, but as far as I can tell, Sweet Baby Inc. isn't even a publicly traded company, so there's not even stocks for the investment firm to actually invest in. So for the last few years, BlackRock has been in conspiracy crosshairs of conservatives like Matt Walsh and others for pushing DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion measures, and also ESG, which is the scary-sounding environment, social, and governance policies. While this, of course, conjures to mind evil puppet masters controlling the environment and society and government, it's in reality just a blanket term to describe broad ways companies can try to polish their image to keep making money. When it comes to why conservatives might hate ESG and DEI, it's because a lot of it involves these companies appearing to support progressive causes and capitalism, or kind of rainbow capitalism, if you will. See, they don't like that queer people and people of color are broadly appealing in the marketplace of ideas, so when companies try to capitalize on that, they say it's woke brainwashing. I've discussed it before, but while Matt Walsh and his ilk want to make it seem like these efforts are going to mean companies like airlines will hire black women who have no qualifications over qualified white men, the reality is that these measures are meant to help increase awareness of jobs and opportunities in communities that have historically been marginalized, usually so that companies can use that workforce to keep making money. So, in an example, let's look at this video from Channel Fave Matt Walsh.
Simply allowing markets to work without crude demographic manipulation. The Biden administration's allies in state and local governments are doubling down. They've decided that they know exactly what the demographic makeup of each industry should be, and it just so happens that white men aren't wanted in any industry. So I'll start with Maine, where this week, Democrats have determined that the field of construction, where blacks and Hispanics make up nearly 40% of the workforce, simply isn't diverse enough somehow. Specifically, the governor, Janet Mills, has determined that more women need to be construction workers, and therefore Mills has signed an executive order that, among other things, will use state and federal funding to prioritize construction projects that involve women.
Governor Mills signing an executive order at Maine DOT in Augusta, alongside female leaders in Maine's construction industry. The executive order will kickstart data collection in collaboration with partners in the construction industry and implement grant programs to incentivize the hiring of women, while providing supportive services that recruit and retain women in the construction industry.
We need construction workers, especially women, now. Why? Why especially women? And this is odd coming from Janet Mills, who spent her college years traveling through Europe and learning French before going into law school and spending the rest of her life in government. What does Janet Mills know about construction exactly? How is she qualified to say anything about what the construction industry needs or who's most qualified to fill those needs? Now, as always, this DEI initiative is a solution in search of a problem. There is absolutely no reason to believe, and not a single shred of evidence to suggest, that the construction industry was in any way suffering due to a lack of female representation.
Put aside for a moment that Matt also doesn't know anything about those things. What he purposefully fails to bring up is that the executive order wasn't signed to push out white men. It was signed because of a historic shortage in Maine's construction workforce, combined with the fact that they just got a bunch of federal renewal funds for infrastructure Maine needs workers, so they're attempting to tap into a largely unacknowledged potential workforce. Of course, facts don't get in these folks' way, so DEI and ESG has become the narrative, the boogeyman to blame for why everything is woke now. It's not because companies are looking to diversify their workforce or diversify the markets that they're selling their products in. No, it's a globalist plot to demoralize white men or something. Which brings me to BlackRock, the largest investment management firm on the planet. I want to be clear when I say BlackRock is a terrifyingly evil company, and along with its entwinement to the other big investment firms, Vanguard and State Street, forms an undeniably terrible precedent for our economy. Between these three, trillions of dollars is handled daily. But what do they actually do, and why do so many people on the internet think they control the world? Well, so BlackRock is an investment firm, which means rich people pay them to make rich people more money on the stock market. They use a series of algorithms to detect market trends and buy stocks on behalf of investors, in turn making BlackRock a shareholder of massive companies they invest in. But these investments make up a large amount of these megacorps, and between BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, these three control over 20% of the stock market. Again, this is a problem with a monopolized market where control of massive sections of companies and money are just basically overseen by companies and money. Because BlackRock invests on behalf of its investors, it has a lot of shares in companies like Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, and Amazon, but not because, as a lot of dum-dums online like to depict, they own these companies. They own stocks in the companies, and they technically don't even own them. They hold them for investors' portfolios. That's why they're called holdings. Now, because BlackRock does have such large interests in these companies, they are occasionally able to sway a publicly traded company towards diversity interests, DEI, ESG, through things like shareholder voting, which is a common occurrence for publicly traded operations. If you own a ton of a company, you get to help vote on the direction it gets taken. To which I hear some of you saying, aha, so you admit they're masterful manipulators trying to engineer social change through funding DEI to ruin video games. No. First off, conspiracies about BlackRock owning everything are easily disproven because, as a publicly traded company, all of BlackRock's assets are by legal requirement available to see by its stockholders and the public. You can just look them up right now. They publish regular reports on them too. As for ESG, this comes back to the idea of corporate wokeness, which I've talked about in this essay. Corporations don't have feelings or opinions, they have shareholders. And if shareholders and public opinion are moving towards something like climate action or social change, like plenty of companies noted following Black Lives Matter, for example, then corporations will act like they give a shit to keep making more money. This is what BlackRock is doing. They aren't driving this social change, they are following it. BlackRock began offering investments into ESG around 2017 and 18 after bringing on a sustainable investing supervisor who worked in the Obama administration. The operating thought here was that they might be able to entice more or new investors by sugarcoating investment to appear to be doing social good, kind of like when you buy a soda that says less sugar and part of you goes, that means it's better for me, when actually you know that's just bullshit. You want the soda, they just convinced you to buy it without feeling quite as bad. It's the same reason why BlackRock started doing ESG. At the time, less than 10% of investment funds offered ESG options. So essentially, they were helping their investors diversify their portfolios by simply diversifying their offerings, a very standard investment practice. Now, I want to be as clear as I can when I say BlackRock is a vile, evil company, but not because it's run by master manipulators or Jewish people, but because it's the manifestation of everything wrong with capitalism. It shouldn't surprise you that as a massive firm, BlackRock, State Street, and others have access to huge oil stocks, for example. They also have a shit ton of shares in weapons manufacturing. In a pretty direct way, they are profiting off the genocide of Gazans by Israel right now. But Larry Fink isn't rubbing his hands together mischievously as he thinks about all the games with black women protagonists who will be making white men in their 30s mad. He's counting stacks of fat cash and telling his investors how awesome they are and how BlackRock isn't actually an evil company. BlackRock is a case of the wealthy and elite continuing to make boatloads of cash, which has always been the case with Wall Street. As much as conspiracists want to depict them as behind Pfizer or the COVID vaccine, or saying they made money on lockdowns because they own a company that makes paper masks or something, yeah, sure, that shit is probably evil for massive companies to make money on if there's something people need, but I guarantee at some level, they also made money on bumper stickers protesting the vaccine, and shirts and cardboard signs, anti-vaxxers packed to marches. Because they own a little bit of everything. It's their job to own a little bit of everything on behalf of their shareholders, and because they make so many people money, the government is kind of just fine with it. Does that mean it's right? No. Should a company this big be broken up for the good of the economy? Probably. But none of that means BlackRock is a conniving front for a satanic cabal, and I guarantee they have very little interest in ESG or DEI outside of seeing potential profit in trying to appeal to new markets or investors. Something that, as more conservatives continue to get mad at DEI and wokeness, BlackRock appears to be backing down from. Because again, companies don't have values, they have shareholders. They're going to follow their nose to wherever the money is leading. So remember when I said all of this was super boring? I've spoken about the habit of conspiracy to take things that are complicated and simplify them, and make them more exciting at the same time. Because the banality of our corporate overlords and how evil they are feels dissonant to most people. Here's a fucking company called BlackRock that makes trillions of dollars, that capitalizes on environmental destruction and war while also putting up a face as a progressive organization. That's some diabolical shit, right? In our American conspiracy-laden pop culture poisoned brains, we might just instinctively feel that there needs to be a more exciting story. We need a satanic cabal. That's the only way this makes sense. How else could we let a company do so much evil and profit while so many people are suffering? It's why conspiracies are so tempting, because they spice up the otherwise unremarkable. The truth is that this is unfettered capitalism working as intended. Every politician who's talked about the free market of trade and defended billionaires helped this happen, and they continue to help it happen. And probably because either they or the lobbyists who support them and pay them had a little skin in the game. Where actually looking into the facts of BlackRock, who they are and what they do, results in boring-ass graphs and investment jargon, a conspiracy about BlackRock being a front for Jewish control of video games and society is more exciting because it comes with lore. Lore that Synth loves to share on stream, so let's try to concoct a cohesive vision of his worldview where Jews control the world. Now, according to Synthetic Man, Jews control all the markets, and Hollywood, and basically the world. So all of their efforts in both DEI and food processing are to basically enslave people, to exert control over an unsuspecting populace. DEI, in particular, he believes is a way to create a mongrel slave race by race mixing. I'll just let him rant here for a second.
There are many layers as to why this is happening, and it's not just about fucking equity, okay? Let's say, hypothetically, you were trying to create a race of mongrel slave people with double-digit IQs. While you believe you're the best ever, you're God's chosen people, right? You need to encourage the creation of the mongrel slave race. So what do? Okay, well, one, you show as many interracial couples as possible in media. Every single commercial, every single TV show, that's one thing. Another thing, these people who, you know, for whatever reason, are considered, at least on average, to be the most attractive people, while they also coincidentally are too intelligent and too... they have too much ingenuity, creativity, all of those things that could be a threat to you. Well, if we simply stop giving them jobs, they can't feed themselves, they're poor. Women, unless they're extremely high above average in terms of looks, women are not going to date the poor white guy over the diversity hire dude who's making more money, right? Unless he's hideously ugly. The point is to bring things to a balance, because obviously the 10 out of 10 Chad who's broke will sleep on the bitch's couch and he'll never have to get a job, but that's an exception. That's 1 in 1,000, right? They need to bring the white people down and bring the other people up. Of course, also, women are being brought up in society in general, so they'll expect more. And so women, the white women will breed less because their expectations for men are so high that white men can't possibly meet them. And despite what all of the toucan propaganda would have you believe, most people date within their race, the vast majority. Okay, and so if white people never breed because the women's standards are impossibly high and the men can't get a job and they can't do any of these things, is any wonder how we're getting replaced, you know?
In fact, it seems the only reason he thinks Americans haven't risen up to kill their Jewish oppressors is because, as I mentioned, he thinks we've been so cucked by processed foods, soy, and high fructose corn syrup. Otherwise, yeah, totally, dude. That's the normal thing to think. However, this is also ironic once again because Synth just regularly eats like garbage, like of his own volition. Aha, but it's not just that Jews control food, according to him, but that they also specifically want to take video games away from the white man. Apparently, yes, the evil overlords who are manipulating multi-continental markets, wars, entertainment, and media are also very specifically invested in annoying incels who live with their mom at 30. This is just one way they demoralize and humiliate, his way to describe anything he seems to think is woke. So, for example, a muscular or even competent woman having agency in a piece of media is meant to be demoralizing to men, according to him. Which, like, If that's your reaction, that's kind of on you. Like, it's not someone else's fault if you have such a weak sense of self and who you are that seeing someone else's competency is a demoralizing conspiracy. He loves to parrot his 4chan fascist talking points about DEI and wokeness as trying to erode the standards of beauty and make ugly art. And he can't really seem to decide if that's the fault of creators who are ugly and need to insert themselves, or the global elite overlords he thinks control everything. I guess it's probably more of a middle management job somewhere in between there.
Like, this is disgusting. This disgusts me. So I think good game design will be a lost craft after the death or the retreat of the golden generation. This could easily turn around. If ESG disappeared and all the evil fucks who are behind all the shit going on, you know, fired all of the political ideologue developers and then hired talented, creative people again, we could turn this industry around in like probably 3 to 4 years. I mean, that's never gonna happen, but I mean, it's absolutely possible. I don't think it's a lost art. Everything that's happening is intentional.
He also doesn't seem to get what subliminal messaging is, because everything he thinks is subliminal not only isn't, but if it represented what he thought, which it doesn't, it would be explicit messaging, which is how he can recognize it. Let me give you an example where he goes on a tangent in a video about Link being made gay in Breath of the Wild.
Is borderline satanic imagery. I have no idea if this is intentional or not, but Japan used to be infamous for putting weird Christian symbolism in anime and occasionally video games. So this could be an extension of that, or again, if you want to take the schizo angle, this is a result of a certain cult organization full of quote-unquote elites that are subtly inserting their propaganda into video games. Not to mention the quote-unquote subtle homosexual imagery from Breath of the Wild has been expanded even further in this one, and I already know people are gonna say I'm reading into it and no kid's gonna see this shit, but that's exactly how you desensitize people and how you groom them, right? You expose them to things. The vow that each of the new sages takes to Link looks like they're proposing to him. And Sidon, the giant shark guy, people already made a bunch of gay lewd images between him and Link when Breath of the Wild came out. Well, now, him quite literally putting a ring on his finger, and man, their relationship is too fucking weird, dude.
Alternately, this take about Radahn in Elden Ring.
So, some of you might remember Mikola, aka Melania's brother, the femboy who everyone loves for being the only good child in Marika's family. Well, of course, this being a From Software game, he's actually evil. What is a problem is that he's not just a femboy, he wants to have gay, incestuous sex with his older brother Radahn, and because you killed him in the main game, and you also killed Mohg, he uses Mohg's body and infuses it with Radahn's soul, and now they're gay lovers for eternity.
Now, if you're thinking, wow, he sure seems to think about femboys and gay stuff a lot, you notice that too, huh? For example, this thumbnail featuring a femboy porn cut out of a character, which he would only get by having gone to a porn website to look up porn of this character. As I mentioned a while back, he has suffered from what he called pornography addiction in the past, something he largely blames for his lack of interest in women.
So yeah, I haven't taken them since near the start of my channel, I think. So I guess almost 3 years. Yeah, almost 3 years. I honestly, I was fine on them, actually. I think they were perfect for me. It's just the like I said, the erectile dysfunction is horrible. Granted, you know, being a porn addict will do that to you anyway, but it was worse on the drugs, I'll tell you that. And the thing is, being an incel is obviously like the worst thing you can be in society, which is a very smart psyop because it means they can never organize. Zoomers are depressed primarily because of how they grew up on the internet. If it wasn't for pornography, their generation wouldn't have been so hypergamous, ergo miserable. Yeah, I mean, porn is definitely a huge part of current issues. I have to wonder if I hadn't gone so deep into that rabbit hole when I was a teenager, if I would have like nutted up and asked more girls out. Granted, you know, when I did ask the girl out who I thought was interested in me, she rejected me,
And I think it's because she thought I was autistic or some shit, and that's why she was being friendly with me. So, that was brutal.
But as we've seen, he is consistently still porn-brained. One of the clearest examples is in a Crash Bandicoot 4 review, where he talks about Rule 34 art of this children's cartoon game character saving the character design. His words, not mine. Something, again, he'd literally only know and think about if he had gone to the porn site specifically to look for said art.
Rule 34 has salvaged her design a bit, though. Kids, avert your eyes.
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of hot.
And wouldn't you know it, all these choices he makes, he also blames on porn, who he blames the massive world-owning cabal for.
Do you think the small hats are the reason for what you are now? Indirectly, I mean, they cause most of the current issues in society. You know, I don't have to point it out to you guys how much more popular certain genres of porn got, you know, a handful of years ago. Now, some of that was absolutely pushed by their algorithms, you know, like BBC shit. Any of the interracial shit was obviously, you know, pushed forward propaganda. But
anyway, much like the way he interchangeably uses commie, leftist, and liberal, his conspiracies about BlackRock or Jewish control are interchangeable. He probably can't tell many specifics of what he believes because he doesn't actually look into specifics. He doesn't do research, and in general just doesn't seem to be a real seeker of knowledge. Just as an aside, I think this clip is a great example where chat asks him if he reads, just in general, just reads books. And this is his response.
Do you read? Not really, I'll be honest. No. I have a very low attention span. I've thought about it.
I've thought about it. I've thought about reading. I've thought about reading like it's rock climbing or visiting the Eiffel Tower and not something you can just do for free. We have literal places where people can go and read for free. They're called libraries. They're called libraries. Yet it's such a wonderful summation of the brain of people like Synth, completely incurious. And as a result, he kind of just swallows whatever garbage he consumes to vaguely regurgitate later. So many of his views can be traced back to the incredibly stupid and wrong idea that BlackRock or Jews are manipulating everything. He thinks that because he's never even done a hint of research before, making him incredibly gullible, yet confident in repeating his half-remembered conspiracy theories. But he didn't come up with them. Oh, no. Let's talk about who did. You might not be surprised to know where he continually gets ideas like this. Not just the COVID vaccine conspiracies, but election conspiracies, ideas about Jewish control, evil cabals, the World Economic Forum, BlackRock, and more. While it's partly just leftover bile from 4chans and other sources, Synthetic Man is a fan of channels and sources like Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones. In fact, he gets news from them and bases his opinions on them. Now, for those who don't know, Paul Joseph Watson has a long history of being a total bullshit grifter. Watson also has a famously anti-Semitic streak where he went on a tirade about killing Jews, so he and Synth have that in common. He was a longtime collaborator for InfoWars under Alex Jones, more on him in a minute, but also had a bad habit of immediately hearing a story that suited his needs and reporting it as a verified fact, only for it to be later revealed that the story was a hoax or inaccurate. For example, the time where he believed a satirical article about Common Core teaching 6th graders to use strap-on dildos and reported it as a fact. Or like when he said depression isn't a real medical condition. He also claimed an entire host of mass shootings were false flag government operations or staged, falling directly in line with Alex Jones and his InfoWars job at the time. There was never anything to actually confirm his suspicions. Paul Joseph Watson was just saying shit to generate controversy and try to be the first on a conspiracy train. So essentially, Synthetic Man is repeating the opinions of someone without checking if they're real, when the person he's taking from has a history of doing the exact same thing. I guess they have more in common than just anti-Semitism. Watson was also a big purveyor of the soy feminizing conspiracy, so take from that what you will. This is how conspiracy spreads, through dumbasses looking for anything to confirm their preconceived biases, who will become just an infection vector for their own lazy stupidity. I don't know how often Synth follows InfoWars or watches their content, but from what he said, he was exposed to it from a young age through his dad. And what can I say about Alex Jones that hasn't already been said? The Texas tomato himself, Jones is constantly bloviating about a new world order and for over 30 years has consistently lied about almost everything he said. I've said it before, but the podcast Knowledge Fight does a phenomenal job of charting Alex's lies, and they are far too numerous to count. Like, seriously, go listen to like 2 episodes of Knowledge Fight, and they have to spend hours breaking down why he's lying and how he's lying. So suffice to say, Alex Jones is not a trustworthy source for any news, but he's one that Synth apparently thinks is right about at least a couple things. You can judge simply by the fact that Alex rarely gives any sources for his ludicrous claims, and when pressed on his sources, he simply either gish gallops by overwhelming the conversation with a series of random tangents, or turns to insults.
In the spirit of a proper debate, and you've had a lot to say so far on the show, a lot of it aimed at me, which is fine. But I want you to try and answer the questions. It's a proper debate, okay? I'm not trying to trip you up.
No, it's not a debate. You're running the show. You bring in your victims up front.
Actually, no.
Look, you got your little note cards.
Yeah, okay.
I just gave you FBI statistics that violent crime and gun crime is down over 20%.
Alex, let me just ask you
And
this.
you want to go to little factoids.
No, they're not little
Anybody
factoids.
can pull those up. Listen.
Do you know what...
Do you have a bodyguard?
Alex.
Why do you have bodyguards?
I don't have a bodyguard.
Yeah, I've seen you on the news with them. Don't you want to protect your wife from hoodlums, or you want to call the police?
Let me ask you this question.
Why does Dianne Feinstein tell 60 Minutes?
You said the whole thing is a giant hoax. How do you deal with a total hoax? It took me about a year with Sandy Hook to come to grips with the fact that the whole thing was fake.
At that point, and I do think there's some cover-up and some manipulation, that is pretty much what I believe. But then I was also going into devil's advocate, but then we know there's mass shootings and these things happen. So again...
But you're trying to have it always, right?
No, I'm not.
If you wrongly went out there and said it was a hoax, that's wrong.
But what I already answered your question was, listeners and other people are covering this. I didn't create that story.
But Alex, the parents, one after the other, devastated. The dead bodies that the coroner autopsied.
And they blocked all that and they won't release any of it?
When you say parents faked their children's death, people get very angry.
Yeah, well, I know, but they don't get angry about the 500,000 dead Iraqis from the sanctions, or they don't get angry about all the illegals pouring in. No, it's not a dodge. The media never covers all the evil wars it's promoted, all the big things.
That doesn't excuse what you did and said about Newtown. You know it.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. I looked at all the angles of Newtown, and I made my statements long before the media even picked up on it.
In our interview, we asked Jones numerous times what he now believes, and he never completely disavowed his previous statements.
Now, like I said, I can't say how often or if at all Synth still watches Alex Jones, but knowing that Synth still goes to Paul Joseph Watson and has been exposed to Jones's content since childhood does give a pretty good idea of why he thinks the way he does. You can see shades of both of their argumentative styles in his rants, but mostly the conspiratorial content with no research, no proof, no substance, but maximum confirmation bias. See, Synth will just say something as evidence for a claim he will make, and then he just uses what he's saying as confirmation it's true. It's so self-evident. Just look at the thing I'm saying is self-evident. But if you were to look into any of these things, even just a little bit, you'll find it's just bullshit he's throwing at a wall, attempting to form some semblance of a cohesive worldview from his ignorance. Again, there's never been any evidence that Sweet Baby Inc. was funded in any way by BlackRock. They aren't even publicly traded and don't need investments to make money. They work on a project-by-project basis. So next time someone tells you about Sweet Baby ESG or whatever, you'll know they probably have a hard time drinking a glass of water without drowning. Like, by now I've explained soy, BlackRock, Sweet Baby, Paul Joseph Watson, and plenty more, so you get the idea that despite Synth apparently believing these conspiracies, he didn't actually do any of the research, even when he tells other people to go do their own research. Chalk one more up for hypocrisy on his part, but more importantly, it's another example of how Synthetic Man lashes out at everything he can with anything he can, which is a perfect time to talk about the other beliefs Synth has. The ones that were influenced by real-life experiences, according to him. Like most racist and conspiracy theorists, he doesn't have many actual beliefs. He bases a lot of his current beliefs on things he experienced in high school. For example, he loves to cite how he went to a predominantly black school, so had an inside look into the black people of America.
Do you guys remember me telling you that I went to a majority black middle school? Because I did say that. I'm not sure if you guys are memeing or if you remember that or not. Because I did. It's very true. It's not as bad as you would think, because... there's almost no way to say this, really, but the the classes were, you know, I was in an academically gifted class, so it was essentially, it was like almost segregation in a sense. There were some black guys who were in, black kids in the classes.
But more interestingly is Synth's opinions on women. Synth actually hates women. Like, he is a deeply misogynistic creature. And from what I can tell, a lot of that resentment began in high school.
High school relationships didn't go, like, that whole situation didn't go well. You know, I dated a black chick in high school. I told you guys this. In junior year, didn't go well. I was ashamed of myself, partially because she wasn't very attractive, and I don't know, she was kind of weird. She'd also dated, like, multiple other guys who she still talked to. And honestly, her shorter, fatter friend was nicer. I don't know. I probably should have dated her. But anyway, but to circle back around, the point is, I want to date someone who wouldn't have these vast preconceived, isn't constantly comparing me to other people, basically, and also at the same time is not like just dating me for the status thing, you know? It's like, but to be fair, at the same time, that would have always been a factor. Like, a woman's not going to be like, unless you're Chad, which I will never be Chad, this is delusional. Unless genetically I'm Chad, she's not going to be like, oh, this homeless guy, I'm going to date this homeless guy because I really like his personality. It's just many of us, including myself, were brainwashed by, like, children's cartoons and things to see women as something that they're not. Obviously, the problem is like, all my experiences contradict that. But brainwashing is so fucking strong that it's created, like, kind of like this mishmash of the two concepts together. Where on the one hand, I've seen the horrors over and over again. On the other hand, you hold out this hope for this thing that doesn't even exist.
So, Synth got rejected in high school one time by his accounting. And as a 30-year-old man, still thinks it's a good justification for hating on all women in dating. It won't surprise you to know he doesn't have any experience with modern dating, but still parrots manosphere misogynistic bullshit about women on the apps.
So much has changed in just 10 years because they have equal rights to us. So if the government says, okay, trans women are women, you know, women are oppressed and are just as good as men despite all of the biological differences that would make them, you know, weaker, etc., etc. You can name all the things. Blah, blah, blah. You know, name others. Racism is bad. In fact, you know, certain people who are statistically commit most of the crimes, no, they actually didn't do any of those crimes. Cops are bastards. You know, in fact, and it's... I'm about to go down a super deep rabbit hole here, but the point is, white women specifically have fucking fucked up everything because they are the highest status by birth, because they are the most desired women, because at least on average, white women typically are the most attractive ones. Now, of course, if you take a bunch of drugs and you sleep with 100 men by the time you're 25, yeah, you're gonna look like 40 years old. You're gonna hit the wall at fucking Mach speed. But, you know, for them, at least as a general rule, they tend to be the more attractive ones. So, that's all I'm saying. I just feel like I've been too colored. You know, like, we're all susceptible to propaganda, let's be real. And I've just... Maybe the most effective propaganda on my mind has been showing degenerate white female behavior. I'll say that. That has unfortunately been the most effective propaganda.
Yeah, truly, it's a mystery why no woman would want to date you when you refer to them as empty egg cartons. It's definitely the media's fault, not you, for giving up on relationships in high school. Nobody should be surprised by this point to hear him repeating others' talking points about something he has literally no experience in, or hearing him so confidently make assertions based on anecdotal or even non-existent evidence. As an example of shit where he's just repeating what he's heard with no evidence, this point he makes about how, why would anybody go and approach a woman in public when there have been tons of cases of men just getting arrested for just approaching women, which, no, there hasn't been. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, well, this is the most obvious one ever, because we've been fucking conditioned that is tantamount to being a creep. Approaching a woman, like, cold approaching doesn't fucking exist anymore. Why? Online dating, duh. A woman can fucking filter through any man at a fingertip. Why would she want to be approached by randos? She can access literally anybody. This is fucking logic. Straight up, like, just common sense. How is this even confusing to people? Because it's confusing because they have to deny the truth, the obvious truth in front of their fucking eyes. That's how you are a bug man. You're a bug man when you ignore reality. Okay? No shit. You know, a man could fucking get arrested for approaching a woman, and then we say it doesn't happen, and you can produce like 10 fucking... I know there's autists who have saved every fucking example. There's always somebody who's like, oh, well, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? It's never enough for these deluded idiots.
See, Synth's opinions and beliefs are largely just whatever he's picked up from other people. He doesn't have many of his own, outside of the few experiences he hangs on to define himself, which he uses for justification. Now, one thing I do genuinely believe about Synthetic Man is that he desires violence towards women. When I say he hates women, I don't just mean that he wants to subjugate them or have sex with them. I believe he truly hates and loathes women. It's probably why, even after being easily goaded into long-winded rants about Jewish cabals and societal control cribbed right from InfoWars, he is much more bullish about talking about women in any way on his streams, despite his audience trying to get him to do it.
Again, I think you guys... This is something I've thought about before off the streams, and I forget to say it. I feel like too many of you are either attached to living vicariously through me, or just because you have a parasocial relationship with me, you want to see me happy. Well, it's not going to happen. Okay? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I am way too jaded beyond belief with certain things in this world. There's a reason why I don't talk about women on these streams, because that's one of the things that could legitimately get me banned if I ever went full force.
He also has a habit of making jokes about how he'd like to sexually assault them.
I wanted to turn invisible so bad when I was a kid. Still do sometimes, to be honest.
You can get away with anything if you're invisible. And no one can stop you.
Is that a rape joke?
If you like
why is that the first thing I think of? Well, he said get away with anything, right?
Which is not the first time he's laughed about the idea of rape, or even wanted it in a video game.
I'm definitely sick of the seriousness, because, like, at the end of the day, it's seriousness with no bite to it. That's why I find it funny that game reviewers think this shit's, like, super mature and serious, when it doesn't even show, like... I know I'm gonna come across like an edgelord, but you saw the fucking thumbnail. But there's not even, like, real rape in these games. I mean, they have it, like, implied rape, but if you want to go all the way, that's where I would go if I wanted to make a purposely edgy-ass game.
But more telling is this moment from a late drunk stream where he seems to imply that he wouldn't want to go on a date even if a woman agreed to it, because I will let this one speak for itself.
And online dating is not the solution. There's a part of me that I'm almost afraid of myself, what would happen depending on the type of woman I would meet. And I'm not going to explain that, because that's a trap, definitely. But I feel like I'd be more likely to meet the type of woman I despise through online dating, that's for sure.
So there are only two explanations here, right? That he doesn't want to go on a date because he thinks he will either physically assault a woman or sexually assault her, or both. That's what he's admitting to here. And I choose to end our summary of Synth with this because it is deeply unflattering for whatever sympathy or small amount of goodwill he might garner with sad stories about high school rejection. These clips show that it's not other people's fault he can't and shouldn't date, it's his own, which forms one final trend, not just for Synthetic Man, but for plenty of his fans. People who base their worldviews entirely on hate choose to, because they want to blame others for their own faults. Nobody forced Synthetic Man to believe or say any of the hateful things he does. He's simply attached to them because he doesn't want to take any personal responsibility. For example, it's not his fault for hating women if he can regurgitate some Andrew Tate bullshit and blame a high school crush. Look at how bad women are today. Why would you hate me for hating women? It's not his fault for not getting a job when the Jews control everything and put soy in the food to emasculate him. It's not his fault he's bad at video games when they're being made for Zoomers by SJWs. So now we get to the real heart of the issue. Not the how he thinks or what he believes, because honestly, they don't matter. His entire online personality is a spiteful amalgamation of his influences, and he has continued to lose himself in this content pit as his audience draws him progressively deeper into it. So then let's get to the why. Why does Synthetic Man hate everything? I don't want to get too psychoanalytical with why he is the way he is, but thankfully, because of several late-night drunken streams, I don't have to speculate. Synthetic Man basically lays out for the world to see why he is a hateful, self-loathing mess who spends his life playing dancing monkey to a horde of internet Nazis. It's because he's a deeply, deeply insecure person, and almost every talking point against women, people of color, the Jews, communists, or whoever else he goes on tangents about, he all says because he needs someone else to blame for the problems that he is responsible for in his life. Case in point, how he sees his parents as responsible for his own failure to launch.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. I wanted validation for a long time, but not from therapy, from my parents. I never did get that. Eventually, you learn to give up on those things. I think that the elite's social planning enabled the conditions for your family to end up the way it did. Possibly. It's hard to know. I don't know what my parents saw when they were young, that they didn't understand that you need to teach kids stuff. The funny thing is, my parents have always acknowledged that me and my brother were smart, but simultaneously, they never taught us anything useful. I guess they just assumed that that school would do it. But at the same time, I think there were times where at least my dad tried to teach me some shit, but because of like video game addiction or whatever, I just didn't want to listen, and he just gave up after a certain point. But I feel like there was better ways. You're not supposed to give up on trying to teach your kid practical things.
Synth has repeatedly admitted to be too lazy to get a job. We've talked about it, but at almost 30, he still lives with his mom. Now, I have nothing against people who had to move back in with their parents. I've been fortunate enough to have decent rent and worked hard not to, but the economy is rough and rent keeps going up while wages have stagnated for years and years. It's almost like a running theme in our society is how concentrated capitalism is ruining everything. But saying that to people like Synthetic Man makes you a crazy commie, wild, just unrealistic person. No, to them it's more reasonable to make up elaborate conspiracies to justify why their lives are that way instead of examining the machine chewing them up, because usually that examination might also require some introspection about the role they play in the world and how the effort they put in can reflect their material outcomes. Which, believe me, Synth does not want to do. I said I don't have a problem with people living with their parents, and I don't, but when someone who has never had a real job wants to tell others how to live their lives, that is funny to me. Here is a grown man who admits to caring about almost nothing but video games, who isn't particularly good or well-versed in them, and who spends his whole life now being angry at the world passing him by. And every step of the way, he blames others for the things that make him angry. And then he also has the temerity to say to his audience that if you've never accomplished anything in life, you don't get to make declarative statements. Okay, then where do you get off, dude? Another little case in point. He's a legal adult making a livable wage from YouTube for at least 2 years. By all accounts, he should at least feel successful enough to pursue something he's passionate about, even just a video series or a project, to move out, to try and treat YouTube like a proper job. Like, looking at his numbers and especially the super chat donations he gets, I don't know why he would ever bitch about eating junk food when he can afford good organic food. He just chooses not to.
My mom just got here, so I might see if dinner is an option, or if I'll have to make my own tendies.
I ate a shit ton. I can't really eat anything like tendies, though, because yesterday I ate 2 Popeyes chicken sandwiches, and that's why I didn't sleep, actually. I forgot to talk about that part. So not only did I have to get up at 9 a.m., which I know, it's truly my life is pain, 9 a.m., crazy. But also, the Popeyes chicken kept me awake.
Instead, he would rather mope and maul and blame his parents, who are still bringing him his chicken tendies, for messing him up. He talks about how his dad wasn't around much and his mom's problems and how he was basically raised by the internet.
You've got a whole generation of young men who were raised by single moms, taught by women, rejected by girls their age. Basically, every woman they've known has treated them like shit their entire lives. So their ultimate fantasy is to find a woman who nurtures and loves them unconditionally. So there you go. I wanted to share that with you. Something I was thinking about. So anyway, that was just a response to the comment about the young girls having daddy issues. It's like, yeah, everyone's a shitty parent now, so everyone's fucked up. It's like, maybe you shouldn't let the internet raise your kids. Just a crazy thought. As someone who as someone whose mind has been fucked, possibly without any hope of being normal, maybe you should, you know, talk to your kids about healthy sexuality and tell them the dangers of pornography or something. You know, just a thought. Because my dad slept during the day, so, you know, my dad wasn't around that much because of that. Super chats, yeah, hold on. Well, my mom basically waited to date. Actually, we might have been, or I might have been 18 when she dated the first dude. At least the first dude I met. Because I think she dated dudes she never brought home. And no, none of them were good. They were all fucked. The one that she was with the longest was this rich dickhead with a massive ego who abandoned his kids. And I shouldn't be sharing that with you guys, but let me just say, he was a fucking asshole. But my mom was absolutely smitten with him because my mom loves the idea of being rich more than almost anything. If anything, through my mother, I've learned that women shouldn't have access to these high-profile jobs and all this money and shit.
But then he will go on to talk about how they also recognized and encouraged how smart he was and encouraged reading, and how when he was depressed as a teen, they tried to get him therapy, and they tried to get him to do other things than play video games, and tried to get him involved in extracurricular activities. And he just didn't want to.
Like, I've already told you guys this. This is, I mean, unless you're new to the streams or you just aren't usually around here for the late night parts. I literally started therapy when I was 14 years old, against my will. I mean, I didn't do it voluntarily, but the point is, from 14 to 24, I was in and out of therapy. I saw probably 8 or 9 different therapists. You know, if I wasn't so, like, stubborn. See, the problem is like, basically after high school, since I refused to go to college, it became a mixture of spite, anxiety, and depression, I'd say, were the reason why I became a NEET. Because my parents really, really fucking tried to get me to get a job. Like, they threatened to kick me out, like, shit ton of times. And basically, I would just say what they already knew, which is just like, you know, I couldn't fucking survive on the streets. I mean, you certainly didn't raise me to survive on the streets. You know, and I think they knew. They knew I was right. They couldn't admit it. I've accomplished this YouTube channel. I have 100,000 subs. It's not going to fix any of those other issues. What will is exactly what I was told in therapy, and it's not what I'm willing to do. I'm not willing to expose myself to increasingly more social situations.
He just refused stubbornly at every step, which he blames them for. Now, I'm not saying I know everything because, yeah, I don't know what went on in Synth's life, but how are you going to try and depict your family as basically being abusive to you and neglectful when you still have to admit that they tried to get you help? When every time you talk about your childhood, you still admit that they tried to help you all throughout. Now, he justifies his laziness by citing the term learned helplessness, something he picked up during therapy. He basically uses it to say that because his parents didn't ever challenge him, he doesn't ever want to do anything. And because he thinks nothing is ever going to change or be good, he isn't going to ever try at anything. But this isn't learned helplessness because he's cognizant of it.
I don't know. I was too hard on myself when I was younger. That's really what it was at the end of the day. It's because it really, not nearly as much of it was my fault. Look up learned helplessness, Darren James. There's a few good things I learned from my time in therapy. A few good things. Learned helplessness, that was a good term I learned that describes my entire existence. Do I want friends? Not as much as I used to. There's a reason why I stopped talking to the friends I had. Because at a certain point I realized that I'm not really getting anything out of it anymore. You know? Like, I basically had to ask myself a hard question where it's like, do I really want to tolerate these guys not taking anything I say seriously? And unfortunately, I'm a victim of the demoralization, as we talked about. So, I was thinking way too much about political things that my friends didn't agree with. So I basically just asked myself, like, is it worth really talking to these guys, you know, continuing this friendship, if we're not going to talk about anything that I want to talk about, really?
But this isn't learned helplessness because he's cognizant of it. He's using it as an excuse to not even try to work. So it's not learned helplessness, it's weaponized laziness. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned how my past and Synthetic Man's overlapped a little more than I expected when I started this project. Like Synth, I was also a gifted kid loner type throughout high school. I didn't have many people I'd call close friends, and I struggled a lot with body image and depression. I didn't do many extracurriculars. I didn't go out and party. I didn't date a lot. Even further back from high school, we grew up in a similar time and had similar interests. I loved the PS2 era of platformers. I grew up playing Ratchet & Clank and Sonic. I fondly remember the Xbox 360 era of edgy shooters. Hell, I have a whole playlist dedicated to ranking Xbox 360 games on my channel. And also like Synth, I struggle with motivation, depression, and especially failure to launch after high school. I've struggled with ADHD and attentiveness my entire life. Getting motivation to work on things has been incredibly hard. It's been something I've worked on hard because it has caused so many problems in my life. So when you combine all these things, I spent the first 4 years after high school in a depressive haze where I felt aimless, like nothing I did mattered, and I took refuge in video games to the point where my mom was threatening to kick me out of the house because she thought I was just going to waste my life on the couch. The reality was I was in a deep depression, worsened by turning to terrible eating habits that made me gain weight and only made the depression worse. So when Synthetic Man talks about his history and the things he blames for his problems, a lot of them I can relate to. And speaking personally, they were not easy to get over. And when you sit and compare what people like Synth and I have been through, from economic struggles to mental health, we had it pretty fucking easy compared to some other people I know. Synth knew his parents, had a family who put food on the table, cared for him enough to try and get him fucking therapy, and when he became a burnout, they still provided for him. But here's the thing that really actually pisses me off, is that after Synth spends so much time whining about how he doesn't even want to try and nothing matters and everything is hopeless, he is still a goddamn hypocrite because he is living proof that he's wrong. Synthetic Man got a rare chance that so few people get, especially hobbyist gaming channels. Through actually applying himself just a little bit, he managed to make a successful, if edgy and transgressive, YouTube channel. Some people spend a decade making in-depth content and don't reach 100,000 subs. Against all odds, whether it was through blind luck of the algorithm or people sharing his content or a mixture of both. He managed to actually launch a successful YouTube career. He won the fucking lottery while so many other content creators are starving, trying to even get 50k subs. But whether through sheer ignorance or just his internet poison cynicism, he doesn't care. He has been so broken by the places he turns to for community, where the only thing they share is misery and hate. He is bought so wholeheartedly into the idea that there's no good in the world, and when a good thing happens to him, he just shrugs and continues his pity party. See, Synthetic Man's mistake isn't being racist or violent towards women, or not doing any research for the things he talks about. Those are all byproducts of the one mistake he makes every day. His mistake is in thinking his struggles are unique to him, and letting those struggles define every aspect of his life. Do you think you're the only one with executive dysfunction? Do you think you're the only one who had a shitty upbringing? Do you think you're the only person who grew up watching edgy shit on the internet and feeling isolated or rejected as a teenager? You're not the only one. You're just one of the people who let those experiences define you. There are an unspeakable number of people who have been through similar circumstances to yours and worse, and they chose not to become assholes over it. It's a tale as old as time with racists and misogynists. One guy gets fired and the company hires an immigrant. He becomes a racist because don't bother looking at the company. That might mean examining the structures of capital. Or MGTOW movements. You hear common stories of men hating women after being cheated on or divorced. It's unsurprising that synth would end up in similar places because, like all these dum-dums, one bad thing happened, maybe once, and suddenly that becomes their entire life. And they go online and they find other people who are likewise obsessed with defining themselves by others. They congregate in places like 4chan and Kiwi Farms, and on Synthetic Man's channel where they can reminisce about their edgy high school years and call people slurs like they used to in Call of Duty lobbies before all the left libtards took everything over. And they can commiserate about how those woke lefty commie snowflakes are actually all funded by BlackRock, who are actually Jews, and that's why there are black people in video games and chemicals in food that make you docile. And they say these things as they sit and grind out another battle pass in a live service game with a diverse cast, stuffing their face with chicken nuggets filled with preservatives as their parents tell them to get a job. And every now and then they'll jack off ashamedly to an anime woman with a dick before posting about troons and how they think any woman with a cock is a freak of nature who's destroying the fabric of society. This is not the way people are intended to live. I don't necessarily believe in higher governance or that you were put here for a purpose, but I do believe that you can live with purpose. A purpose beyond waiting to die and dragging as many people through the mud on your way down as you can. Just look at where it has landed Synthetic Man. Someone who started with the honest, even admirable intention of making a channel to talk about games he loved, who managed to actually get a following with numbers most YouTubers in their first few years would only dream of. And where is he now? Wallowing in an endless puddle of cynicism and hate, making no effort to preserve his own mental or physical health, instead following an audience that doesn't even seem to like him outside of the twisted entertainment value they find in his ranting. He does nothing but blame other people for the fact that he is miserable, instead of looking in the mirror and realizing that he's the one who chooses to be miserable like this. Now, I don't believe that Synthetic or people like him are irredeemable or beyond helping, because every day they wake up and make a choice to be hateful, and one day they could simply choose not to. One day, they could choose to not go on 4chan and instead read a book instead of just thinking about reading. They could choose to not call someone they don't know or understand a slur and justify their bigotry by citing some other asshole who could never cite his sources. They could choose to realize they have been given struggles like everybody else, and that through these struggles, they might have more in common with a trans person, a black person, or a Jewish person than they realized. And they could choose to see that they have also been given opportunities and use those opportunities to live happier, more fulfilling lives. I'm not saying every single one of these people should renounce their bigoted ways and tomorrow they'll be a happy SJW snowflake like me. Believe whatever you want, that's your right as an American. But I also know it's not healthy to live constantly online, and certainly not constantly online in places that speak almost entirely in slurs and Holocaust references. Now, with as deeply self-loathing, insecure, and reactionary as Synthetic Man is, I don't think he will make that choice. Odds are he and the people who were fans of his tuned out of this video a long time ago. But on the off chance you watch this whole thing and you still hate me for being a stupid or you still think Synth is a base chud, I'd encourage you to take a day or two away and really just think about what I've said, because there are always going to be more people like Synth. People who have a passion or a talent but no aim or goal to pursue. People who have been through tough times and don't want to keep going. People who feel alone and instead of reaching out or examining themselves, would rather push everyone away and blame others for their failings. Some of these things you choose, others you don't. But if you're a fan of Synth, you can choose not to be like him. I hope you choose to be better than he is.